Hello and welcome to a dry and thankfully mild evening in the northwest. Blue Moon is the soundtrack which tells you we are live from the Etihad Stadium, seconds away from Manchester City against Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. An uninterrupted commentary here on BBC Sounds and BBC 5 Sports Extra. I'm Tom Gale. I'm delighted to be in the company of former Scotland international Rachel Coursey. The visitors have spotted the ball in the centre circle. They're all in red and they're going to be getting us underway, so I'll bring Rachel in very shortly. So Manchester City it is, the host, looking for a fifth consecutive Premier League win here. And if you have been listening on 5 Live, Mark Chapman pointing out that Arsenal and Brighton kicks off at the exact same time, so we'll have another discussion point as far as the title race comes after the next 90 plus minutes of Premier League football. We are underway, and it is Manchester City in their blue shirts, white shorts and blue socks that are kicking towards the south stand in this first half, and I'll run you through the team. So it's Donnarumma in goal, a back four right to left, Nunez, Diaz, Guehi, Aït-Nouri. Their midfield is made up of Rodri, Cherki, Silva, Foden, and up front it's the return of Erling Haaland alongside Antoine Semenyo. I'll pause because Nottingham Forest have a throw-in. Ola Aina is just dusting down the ball underneath his top. He's got short sleeves on. It's obviously a slight run up here in front of the Colin Bell stand. He's just a yard or so in from the corner flag. It's a good a good throw sent in. Actually a shot there from Rodgers, and Anderson was well defended by Manchester City. It's cleared as far as Cunha. His first touch. Cunha making just his second start for Nottingham Forest, his first since October. And Morgan Gibbs-White has won the ball. Edge of the box, right-hand side. Jesus has a check. Keeps it in on the byline, pulls it back to Dominguez. First time cross, which is headed by Gibbs-White, but it's the same one and claimed by Georgini Donnarumma. I'll run you through the Nottingham Forest team and then we'll say hello to Rachel for the first time this evening. So, as for the visitors, Nottingham Forest, under Vitor Pereira, Matt Sells in goal. They have switched to a back three this evening, which right to left reads Jair Cunha, Milenkovic and Murillo. The wing-backs are going to be Aina and Williams. The midfield, Sangari and Anderson. And their forward line will be Gibbs-White and Dominguez supporting Igor Jesus. So it's Manchester City with the ball. Nunez just on the halfway line, goes back to Ruben Diaz and squares it over towards Mark Guehi. Rachel, I say with this the utmost respect, how can a struggling Nottingham Forest side look to stop this juggernaut that is Manchester City?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, bright start, and I think that's what you have to do in these opening stages. You have to try and be competitive. You understand that, Man City have comfortable possession now, and you'd expect there'll be large spells of the game where City will do this and Forest will choose to sit behind the ball and make it difficult and frustrating for them. But really bright start, opportunity to put the ball from the throw-in into the box from Aina, and then in the end, the great effort from Anderson at the edge of the box, well blocked and well defended by City. But those are the sorts of moments Forest probably will have to rely on when they get the chance. Exactly like that, try and make the goalkeeper work, or try and make the defenders have to make a decision.
Nico Williams with the clearance for Nottingham Forest. All of the outfield players for Manchester City pretty much in the opposition half. It's now in the centre circle, right hand side. Ruben Diaz, he's pressed by Anderson and goes all the way back to Gigi Donnarumma. Bernardo Silva now with Guehi, yet to have a shot on goal as we tick past 3 minutes played here. This is live on Sports Extra, BBC Sounds. Remember, a choice of listening over on 5 Live. Brighton against Arsenal. Sports Extra 2 is the other game that you can concern yourself, certainly at both ends, as Aston Villa and Chelsea. And online, the BBC Sport website and app, Fulham against West Ham. It's Mark Guehi bringing forward for Manchester City. Aït-Nouri it is, providing the rip. We can tell the conditions because I can't remember the last time I saw this amount of players in short sleeve shirts, Rachel. I'm trying to stop.
We have our jackets off as well.
Exactly. I was trying to spot an outfield player with gloves, and Igor Jesus is repping for the gloves contingency, and he's chasing back, and that's not a foul. Anderson turns the ball over. He's quickly swallowed up, though, by a trio of sky blue shirts, and Manchester City come away with the ball. It's over the left-hand side now, just a couple of yards into the Nottingham Forest half with Aït-Nouri. Guehi is an option. Goes back to the England international. He bursts forwards and finds Phil Foden in a pocket of space, bearing down on goal, 25 yards out, swings it wide right to Nunez. First time cross towards the goalkeeper, and Sells comes and claims comfortably.
Yeah, poor delivery. Really, see what he's trying to do. He's trying to just not put too much pace on it, just thinking stand that up, but gets it slightly wrong, and in the end it's an easy one for Matt Sells, and that's a relief for Forest, because City with an extended period of the ball, it's tough to chase and just follow players. You love it when they then cross it in the box, the keeper can come and take it.
Nottingham Forest trying to play out from the back. Milenkovic went to go cross field and he could only pick out Pep Guardiola, who's on the edge of his technical area, hands in his pockets. We're yet to see sight of his opposite number, Vitor Pereira. Obviously started off with that win in the Europa League, Pereira, but it is 3 consecutive defeats back-to-back in the Premier League. And I guess at some point, I don't know when selection's going to come a bit of an issue, Rachel, but juggling that Europa League as well as obviously a desperate battle to stay in the Premier League, it's a tough ask. Yeah,
and there's probably a competition that it almost feels like a double-edged sword, because you're excited and delighted to be in it. It's a big part of the history of the football club, but it adds a huge amount of pressure to the games at the moment.
Well, after this, they have got pretty much 7 days between the next fixture. Midtjylland at home at the City Ground next Thursday. They're out of the FA Cup, so they won't be in action this weekend. Bernardo Silva, right-hand side of the penalty area, shifts it towards Nunez. Not the best pass. Aina quickly gobbles him up, dispossesses the Manchester City man, runs out of room though, and City have it back, right-hand side of the penalty area. Silva cuts back onto his left, sends in a deep cross towards Haaland. Milenkovic got the crucial touch. Rodri has it though for Manchester City. The crowd enjoyed that. They're number 16. Still perhaps not firing on full cylinders, following his obviously ACL injury was the big issue, but obviously subsequent knee and hamstring problems. And go on City, that's the first time we've heard that this evening. And certainly from what we've seen in the opening 6 minutes or so, Rachel, we're going to have stiff necks here because we're looking towards the right.
Yeah, smooth operation from City so far, and even just back to Rodri, yes, we're not seeing the same heights, but it does take time. But he's such a composed footballer. He still does the disciplined work that is such a big foundation to City, being so effective behind the ball and being able to spend so much of the game in possession and just constant attacks, and that's where the last few minutes have really been.
Cherky over the top towards Foden, back to Semenyo, who in such little backlift unleashes a hell of a strike. It goes into the side netting. A few in front of us were on their feet thinking that was in the back of the net, but talk about a player to hit the ground running, Rachel. Antoine Semenyo, out of Bournemouth, straight into Manchester City, has played every single Premier League game, and he just does not look any different.
Remarkable. I mean, a great acquisition. Loved the way he conducted himself, top professional, and he's coming here. Very few players come into City and play consistently as many minutes as he has, and that was another opportunity for him. Just finding his distance, probably. He should have probably done slightly better to at least get it on target. Went near post, but it struck with some pace.
Antoine Semenyo, 5 goals in Manchester City colours already, 3 in the Premier League. Was the match winner away at Ellen Road on Saturday. A tough game on the road for Manchester City. And I think this, with all due respect, is a fixture they are expected to pick up maximum points. Nottingham Forest not yet hanging in, but a clear indication that they're going to be under the cosh here. They're back in a back 5 with the wing backs of Aina and Williams, who've swapped flanks now. Aina's gone over to the right hand side, Williams is on the left here, and that's where the ball is, with Manchester City on their right. Foden, just his second start in the last 7 Premier League games for Phil Foden. I don't think there's ever a case he needs to prove a point, but it's a very competitive Manchester City outfit that he's trying to impose himself on, and tonight's a big opportunity for that, as the ball's switched over to the left hand side along the deck to Ait-Nouri, who just stud rolls it back to Rodri. Nottingham Forest are doing well. They're looking to press now. That ball's more towards the halfway line, but Bernardo Silva has it. A little burst of speed from the Portuguese. He's on the right-hand side. Has his fellow countryman Nunez as an option. Back in field towards Ait-Nouri, who's drifting all over the place here. He's supposed to be playing left-back. Nottingham Forest have it. Midway and through their own half. Dominguez asking a lot there of Olaina, but he's got the pace to get past Rodri. Only Igor Jesus in support at the moment for the Nigerian, and he comes back to find Dominguez, and he tried to shift it back towards Cunha and gets away with one because Semenyo was snapping at that. And this is going to be interesting, Rachel. Now Forest have got the ball, they're looking to play, but how much penetration can they offer against trying to break down this Manchester City side?
Yeah, but they've done well, because it can be easy to want to rush to go forwards when you've not seen the ball for so long and you feel that pressure. nice and composed. Yes, they've ended up back at Matt Sells in the goal, which isn't where they want to be, but also it gives them a break from just defending their penalty area and that disciplined shifting across.
It's over the halfway line now. It's chipped out by Sells towards Dominguez, who's in a free kick.
Great play.
Darren England. And I think, well, you can certainly ask several questions about those sides who are looming over the bottom of the table, Nottingham Forest and Tottenham in particular. When you look at the personnel that they have to choose from, Rachel, I know you were discussing earlier about the upheaval in terms of changeover and manager, but this is a very good outfit for Nottingham Forest, and it's crazy that they're in so much trouble when it look at the Premier League table.
Absolutely. And that sort of, again, there's two arguments to that, because one, you can go, they've got enough to get themselves out of it, but then you also can say, how have they managed to allow this to happen? And even you talk about Europe, the progress they made in Europe, the results they're able to get there, they've not found the same consistency as you'd expect. And for me, a big part of that is the home form. They've been nowhere near good enough at home, and the home results last year were really what they built that positive momentum that they then were able to benefit so dominantly from.
They haven't missed anything, with the exception of an overhit Nunez pass looking to thread in Phil Foden behind. So it is a Nottingham Forest goal kick in front of the south stand, and as we look over towards the left, it's a very healthy visiting support. Depending on which way you come, M1, A50 from the East Midlands, 2-hour journey, and especially obviously the slightly earlier kick-off time, 7:30, negotiating school traffic no doubt, as well as the workers' commute, but they are travelling in numbers, and with 10 minutes gone, it is still goalless. It's back in the right-back position with Ruben Diaz, goes square to Donnarumma, shifts it quickly to Mark Gahey on the left-hand side. Not too much pace to bring himself forward, looking for an option, tries to pick out Bernardo Silva, but gives it straight to Elliot Anderson, who was spotting the run of Jesus there, but it's intercepted and Manchester City have it back.
Yeah, Gahey did well, because he made the mistake initially, trying to feed the ball through the middle of the park. Elliot Anderson picked it out, then he won the ball back in return, which you always enjoy doing as a centre-back. You give it away, you could do your bit.
Well, we spoke about Antoine Semenyo in terms of how well he's fitted in. The same can be said for Mark Gahey as well, Rachel. Yeah,
and that's the thing with the January window, and with a club like City, they're not going to probably bring in players unless they feel they can have an impact there and then, because you'd rather bring them in the summer. So I think two really good additions in areas, not maybe in the forward line so much that they needed, but Semenyo's been an excellent addition. I think defensively Gahey adds a lot of stability, and a player as well who plays a lot of games, who has that consistency and stability to do so.
Manchester City 0, Nottingham Forest 0, but a couple of early goals from elsewhere to tell you about. It is Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 0. You can remember you can listen to that on Sports Extra 2 and BBC Sounds. Just switch the dial over if you want that. And also interesting for Manchester City here this evening, Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. Bukayo Saka with the goal in the 9th minute, and it was Douglas Luiz with a second-minute goal for Aston Villa. The free kick's taken short. It's on the wide right now with Nunez. Takes a touch. Back to Bernardo Silva. Forest have stayed deep. They're trying to raise the back line towards level with the 18-yard box, but it's still on the right-hand side here with Manchester City. Cherki back to Aït-Nouri. Dominguez is the lone press for Nottingham Forest. Understandably, they're not trying to commit too many bodies forward. Semenyo tries to come in field. Gahey, first time pass to Rodri. Rodri now sets off down the left-hand side. Semenyo can turn and face Cunha, but retreats and comes in field. Good defensive shape from Nottingham Forest, which is always good when you see it early on. It's how long you can keep that up though, Rachel. Yeah,
and it's the discipline, your connectiveness to the players that are around you, because yes, you'll make it difficult, but if somebody switches off, that's the sort of space that will leave, where City are so efficient at exploiting that. City are used to playing teams with a low block.
Nunez on this wide right, seen a lot of the ball, comes in towards the penalty area, swings it deep with his left foot towards Haaland, and Aina gets a crucial touch at the expense of a corner because Erling Haaland was looming on his shoulder.
Yeah, brilliant header, absolutely brilliant header at the back post. It looked like Erling Haaland was just winding up to hit that on the volley as it would have dropped over Aina's head, and he just got there and flicked it on for a corner. Really good defending, a match-up we wouldn't expect to see, but one that Haaland probably picked out as most advantageous in the circumstances.
So Cherki it is, in front of the Nottingham Forest supporters, who'll take a right-footed in-swinging corner. There's no one as a short option, so the Frenchman will go direct here. It's a good delivery. Murillo's well positioned though to head clear, and Anderson will get there ahead of Foden. Bit of ball juggling from the England international. Cushions a header into Sangari, and that's nice from Nottingham Forest. Anderson tight on the touchline, goes back to Murillo, who has more space, the Brazilian. Goes across to his goalkeeper, Sells. Cunha. This is nice from Nottingham Forest. They recycled the ball over the right-hand side now. They're here to play. Gibbs White spins away from Rodri. The referee's happy to play the advantage because Igor Jesus has the ball. Dominguez finds Anderson. It's now with the left with Nico Williams, but he's straight offside. How frustrating was that? So much to admire about Nottingham Forest, and then perhaps a lazy offside.
It was excellent from Forest. Now they built up, went back to the keeper. City were pressing them. Good patience, good bravery, playing out, and that was just a simple pass. I don't really know how Nico Williams has managed to get himself offside in that situation. No need for it.
Well, here is the Welshman trying to close down Nunez. It's infield to Silva. Manchester City 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Elsewhere, Villa 1, Chelsea 0, Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. Goalless between Fulham and West Ham. And a reminder, Newcastle Manchester City is an 8:15 kickoff. If you want that in full, make sure you switch to Sports Extra 3, and that will end up on 5 Live in the second half. We'll keep you updated with the goals as they go in, but we are here very much with our attention on Manchester City. I'm looking at Vitor Pereira, arms folded on the edge of his technical area. Pep Guardiola decides to stride out as well. He's seen something he's not happy with, but he's watching on with Manchester City in the final third here. It's on the left-hand side. 8 Nouri. Cherki's an option to the left. It goes to the Frenchman. He wants to cut in field. A few lollipop step overs, squares it to Foden, 25 yards out. Rolls it across the 18-yard box. It's now on the right-hand side with Nunez. Left-footed cross, deflected. And Cunha with a good defensive header. Igor Jesus, though, the Nottingham Forest number 19, it's a thankless task. He's doing a lot of work off the ball, but not seeing any of it as of yet. Because Manchester City, if you want to check out the possession stats on the BBC Sport website, it's very one-sided. Nunez's low cross, which is shanked clear by Murillo. A little fortunate there. It falls to 8 Nouri, who shoots from range, but I think the referee has already blown for a free kick for a foul on Dominguez.
Yeah, but brilliant effort from Nate Nouri. Hits sort of the stanchion that holds the net up at the back. It was a wicked effort, but the whistle had already gone, and a little bit of fortune there for Forest. I don't think the clearance was quite how Murillo intended it, as you said, and it could have landed anywhere, but fortunately squirmed away from any danger.
What do you make of the appointment of Vitor Pereira? We've just seen him on our monitors. Obviously did a fantastic job at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Obviously further out in terms of he was appointed in December, but he ended up bringing them so far. I think it was 17 points clear of the relegation battle in the end, but it's a big ask at the moment to keep their head above water.
It's a difficult task, and more so because I think he's got what it takes to rally the players, set them up, and he's got good enough players that they can handle the pressure. They've been in the league, they know the Premier League demands, but it's that momentum piece, it's the psychological piece, and that's maybe what he'll lean on from his time at Wolves when he took over last year, and as you say, did a brilliant job.
So this will be a further indication for him about the squad he's working with, the likes of Cunha and Dominguez getting first starts under the new head coach. And as one stat pointed out in the build-up to this, Nottingham Forest have as many head coaches as they have away wins this season. So that's 4 if you haven't been keeping check of Nuno Espirito Santo to Ange Postecoglou to Sean Dyche to now Vitor Pereira. I'm pretty sure they can't roll the dice again. This is their lot. And as we know, Rachel, the growing finances in the game and that fear of dropping out as well, it's another big call, isn't it, to make another change in manager? Absolutely.
But if they do drop out, it's going to put them under a lot of pressure because they've been in that European football environment. That's what's now expected at the club, and they've spent accordingly to have a squad that can fulfil that.
What do you make of the selection for the Nottingham Forest starting 11 with the taking out the width arguably of Hudson-Odoi and Hutchinson?
I think it's
well, Sells has tried to clear his lines only as far as Haaland. He was fortunately for the Nottingham Forest man wide right to the penalty area. Silva gets a deflected shot, the first effort on target, and it's a welcomely relieved Matt Sells because he caused that, and it's quickly rolled out to Nico Williams, and it's Erling Haaland leading the press there. You can't do that too many times. Give the ball to Manchester City in your own penalty area.
No, that was a let-off. That was a huge let-off, because as soon as Haaland managed to get his foot onto that and steal the ball back, he sort of spun into the box. It was a 4v3. Huge opportunity. Silva shot, which was the right thing. Surprised he didn't do better.
Foden just trying to bring Manchester City forward, but a miscue from him to Sells, and I don't know, Matt Sells seems a bit panicky for me. I'm not sure, particularly from speaking as a defender, do you want your goalkeeper just to take a touch and just calm things down rather than immediately rolling a pass out or side-footing it to one of his teammates?
Yeah, often you do, but I think Nico Williams out on this right-hand side or left-hand side for Forest, he's got a lot of space because of how the system's set up, and sometimes it's actually easier to get the ball into play. You know, it's better that Nico Williams has the ball at his feet, I'd say, than the goalkeeper.
Bit of scrappy play from both teams, and Manchester City now have given in possession to the aforementioned Nico Williams. On this left-hand side, feeds Elliot Anderson, who's attacking now. Almost parallel with the 6-yard box, back to Williams on his right foot, sends in the cross. Gahey gets enough on it. Semenyo should clear, but the bounce is a little awkward for him. He sends it back to Aït-Nouri, left-hand side of the 6-yard box. Very cool, very composed. The Ghanaian picks out Bernardo Silva, and one-touch stuff brings Manchester City away. That is lovely football. Cherki towards the halfway line. Has to check. 180, and he's now bringing it over towards the right-hand side, where Nunez is once again providing the width, and it is with the Portuguese midfielder turned fullback now. He's looking for options. Forest do really well to get so many bodies back in their numbers. Nunez up against Williams. Come on City is the cry from the home support. It's an anxious watch over in the away end, and the ball clips Darren England, so we'll need to restart with a drop ball. Manchester City will be in possession, so this will be uncontested despite Sangari racing straight over. Raises both his arms to say, no, I'm not going to get a touch in, and Manchester City are still in possession. Wide right once again. Cherki, who's just given the freedom to roam here, there and everywhere. Foden. Rodri. Nunez. A lot of white strapping on the wrists of Manchester City players as Foden lets fly, and it's always arcing and ends up in the Nottingham Forest section of the grounds. Happy if Manchester City are going to take pot shots all evening, Rachel.
They enjoyed that one, and a little bit wayward, but City will do that. You know, they'll understand that there'll be large portions of this first half that it may be a case of they've got to do a lot of this work with the ball and not get many chances, knowing that possibly the second half is going to open up. Tired legs, certain holes are bound to open up, and the quality of players they have, they're so good in these tight areas.
Well, what's that? Less than 20 seconds from a Nottingham Forest goal kick, and Manchester City are already bearing down on Matt Sells. It's now on the right-hand side. So much flow down this right-hand side. Nunez, deflected cross. Anderson did really well to prevent it making its way through, but it's on the edge of the box now with Foden. Foden skips away from Sangari on the right-hand side, just a few yards in from the assistant on this near side, which is Scott Ledger. Aït-Nouri on the left now. Very casual, very blasé, but then burst of speed takes him away from Dominguez. Bernardo Silva, head down on his left, trying to create the angle. It hits Milenkovic flush in the chops there.
It's a sore one.
And Serb just shrugs it off like nothing, and he's happy to everyone to push up, and he's not going to forget his duties, but that'll be sore. And Manchester City again, they're smelling an opening goal here. 22 and a half minutes played, still goalless. Still Brighton 0, Arsenal 1, Villa 1, Chelsea 0, Fulham 0, West Ham 0. Foden lets fly, deflects, and Sells was caught late there. He did see it eventually though, and thankfully it was a comfortable save with his feet. But there's a growing sense here, Rachel, that Manchester City, it's not a matter of if, it's just a case of when at the moment.
Well, Foden did just have one that was wayward, but he was just sizing up, I think, that one, which is a lot more difficult for Sells. He did well. He chose a safe option to sort of spill it out in front of him, knowing that everyone was at least 12 yards away from him.
That's the voice of Rachel Coursey alongside me, Tom Gale. This is 5 Sports Extra and BBC Sounds Premier League commentary. Manchester City against Nottingham Forest. Gahey looks to chip one over the top, but that goes straight through to Matt Sells, and this time he does take his time. Not yet got the ball in his hands. He does now. All in yellow, black gloves, rolls it down the middle to Sangari, who turns out and has Nico Williams on this near touchline, just in front of his head coach, Vitor Pereira. Murillo has to turn and retreats. It's once again back with the the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper. Chipped in towards Jesus, who does get the flick on. but it's straight to Nunez. Foden has it, trying to weave his way through a sea of red. He's done well there. Semenyo, Haaland's made the run, he's looking for him. Semenyo trying to feed Haaland, and Semenyo with the follow-up, but actually the referee had pulled it back for a foul there. He feels as though a Manchester City player impeded a Nottingham Forest defender. Yep, that's the call there, but breathtaking speed in terms of Foden jiggling his way through. Semenyo and Haaland, they're off and running.
Absolutely incredible from Foden. His feet to just work through 4 or 5 bodies in such a tight area and just break the line with his pace. Does well to feed Semenyo. It's a tricky little ball. Ask questions, well defended. Fouls maybe soft, but it was well defended.
Nico Williams went down off the ball. He's got a few words for the assistant on this near side. Nothing given because it's a Manchester City throw. The Welshman's not happy. Continues his conversation with Scott Ledger, the assistant. Elliot Anderson stuck to his task, closes it down, and it's still a Manchester City throw. To the right-hand side of the away dugout, midway into Forest territory, and Rodri's dwelt on possession. He stayed down. Dominguez has got it. 3-on-2 here for Nottingham Forest. Dominguez goes to his left to Morgan Gibbs-White, and it's a tame effort. Comfortable save for Donnarumma. Big chance for Nottingham Forest.
Huge opportunity, and really surprised he's not managed to get more on that Gibbs-White. That's a perfect chance for him. The weight of the pass is excellent. It's soft enough that he's coming down the left side. He wants to open up on his right foot. The pass allows that, and he just doesn't get the whip. It's very comfortable for Donnarumma.
Manchester City are now coming in the opposite direction. Bernardo Silva, Nunez, tracked by Anderson. Anderson goes in, gets something on the ball. Silva just happy to shepherd possession and happy to accept a throw. And you do get the sense, Rachel, that not a case of surely it's too early to say, will that come back to haunt them, but we're clearly seeing there's not going to be many chances for Nottingham Forest tonight, and that was a big chance.
A big one. Equally, those are the chances you know you can create. I mean, that's the best chance of the game. You know, that's the first real opportunity where you think that should have been a better finish.
Ticking towards the half-hour mark, still 0-0. Guehi, Igor Jesus behind, got the cry of man on from those in the crowd, from a Manchester City perspective that is, and they are once again trying to filter down this right-hand side. It's Bernardo Silva who's the outlet this time. A few step-overs in front of Nico Williams. Into the 18-yard box on his left. Williams sticks to his task, and can he beat Bernardo Silva to the follow-up? He can. Good desire there from Nico Williams. Elliot Anderson, Murillo eventually just looks to hoof it clear, but every time it's just coming straight back here. Nunez, who stayed camped pretty much in a right-wing position here, the full-back. Checks the stride into Cherky. Cherky got a sea of red in front of him. Nunez, his cross, not towards anyone in sky blue, and Gibbs-White can't bring it under control. Is this a conscious effort from Nottingham Forest to force Manchester City down the flanks for you, Rachel?
Absolutely, and it's almost sort of Nico Williams against Teus Nunez. That's the battle.
Foden to the byline, his cut back towards the penalty spot. Semenyo was lurking. Nottingham Forest got there first, and Williams will clear it down this left-hand side. Jesus looks to chest it down. Diaz wrestles with him. They wanted a free kick, Nottingham Forest, but actually I think the softer one does eventually go their way.
Yes. Yeah, the first foul was definitely Igor Jesus, wasn't it? So Diaz just had his arms round his body. He did really well. Chest control, inch perfect in front of his feet. And just hold to the ground. Maybe the referee was being generous because he thought he might have missed that one.
We're just looking back on the monitors there at the potential what Manchester City felt was a foul that led to that Morgan Gibbs-White chance. It was Dominguez dispossessing Rodri, and I think Darren England has been very consistent. He accepts that the Premier League is a very physical duel, and both sides can potentially feel aggrieved that some of the decisions have not gone their way with those close one-to-one matchups. And
I don't think that was a foul. I think Dominguez does well. The ball's sort of bobbling up. What does happen is they collide knees, which can be a little bit sore, and I think Rodri knew it wasn't a foul because he bounced up fairly quickly after he realised play continued.
Darren England is drawing the ire of Morgan Gibbs-White. He's just rolled away from Rodri, tried to ping a crossfield ball to Ola Aina, and it hit Darren England square in the back. He couldn't do much about it. Refs can't win because they have to be on top of the action, and there's no way you can get out when sort of players getting out their feet that quickly and trying to ping a crossfield ball.
Referees certainly can't win. Who would do that job?
Well, Darren England, thankfully, this evening
is doing it.
Is the man in charge, and he's watching on to the wide left as Antoine Semenyo, who's dragged Jaya Cunha out with him. Ina's there to offer us support. They know they need to double team the Ghanaian international, who's trying to weave away. Goes down, no free kick, a wag of the finger from Darren England, and Ina, tough ask, who's nutmegged Semenyo there and does win a free kick. That's incredible defensive play. That is an interesting duel over that far side. Ola Ina up against Antoine Semenyo.
It is. I'm not sure many times you get away with that, the nutmeg in the corner when you're in your own defensive third, but he did there. It was actually a really good defending from him and Cunha in the end to just shut out Semenyo. Great feet initially to just work a yard of space, and I don't think the coming together was enough for a foul. I think he went down looking for it. Great feet initially.
10th consecutive Premier League start for Ola Aina. Of course, unfortunately for him, didn't go out to AFCON due to injury. So it has been a stop-start season. Signed a new contract last summer. Certainly lots of Premier League teams interested in him. Morgan Gibbs-White looking for Igor Jesus, and it just hit him on the back as he was approaching the 18-yard box, the back of his calf, in fact. And those fine margins are just what potentially Nottingham Forest will hope it's not something they'll rue here this evening. They've had a big chance with Morgan Gibbs-White. I don't think there's really been a significant opportunity as of yet for Manchester City. A lot of the ball, a good few shots, but still, Matt Sells, I wouldn't say comfortable, but yet to be severely tested. Gehi now, 30 yards out. Cherky picks up a bit of pace into the 18-yard box, right-hand side. Dinks in the cross towards Semenyo, who cushions a left-footed volley into the bottom corner. You can't say that it has not been coming. Antoine Semenyo scores in back-to-back Premier League games. We played half an hour. Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0.
But it's a wonderful finish. Great work from Cherky initially. That's what City need to do. They know they need to do that. You need to go into the box with pace, try and create an angle where you can get a delivery in that puts the Nottingham Forest players under pressure, make it difficult to defend. Semenyo, he's probably 8-9 yards out, fairly central to the goal. He just drifts in. The ball maybe travels only 8-9 yards. Cherky's driven into the box himself, and he just opens his instep. Ball's in the air. It's a difficult height to score from, and he just punches it past Sells in the goal. It's a really, really good finish from someone who's on exceptional form, and that looks like it's just going to continue.
So a 15th Premier League goal of the season for Antoine Semenyo, the third highest in the division, of course. 12 of those came in the colours of Bournemouth, but Rachel's already sung his praises to the high hill earlier on. A January transfer who has just slipped in like a glove to provide more potency, as if it was lacking to this Manchester City forward line. And now the task for Nottingham Forest, who, let's be honest, they haven't just come up here to shut up shop. They've shown adventure, but this is the awkward situation of a game of football, Rachel, where you're one down, you tried to go for it, you haven't got a goal. If you continue to go for it, you could get opened up this evening. Exactly
that, and you've got to be measured. After you've conceded, it's not always the time to sort of go, right, can we get after it and get back in the game immediately. Some will say that is the moment to do it, but equally, as you just touched on, you're playing Manchester City away from home. The last thing you want is that one to become two very quickly, and the task becomes almost near impossible.
So it has been a difficult season for Nottingham Forest in terms of keeping the ball out of the back of the net. Took a long wait for their first clean sheet of the season, and all 6 in fact came under Sean Dyche's tenure. So that wait for a defensive shutout will continue for Vitor Pereira. We're looking at Pep Guardiola, who's got plenty to say to the fourth official, Thomas Bramall. Immaculate standards, always high, always expects a lot, very demanding. And so far, Rachel, judging on the title run-in, which still, I'm sure, has a lot of twists and a lot of turns, and this game's far from done and dusted, but Manchester City looking to play their part. But we'll pause on that because Igor Jesus is bearing down towards the 18-yard box. Left-hand side, goes for goal, it flicks up off Donnarumma. Will Williams get there first? It's back with Jesus, left-hand side of the penalty area. Looks to cross it, Williams has stayed down. Potential contact on the challenge there, and the assistance flag has been raised for offside, but we sensed about, we talked about Gibbs-White, would that be it for the evening? But another good opportunity here for Nottingham Forest. Came down the left-hand side, Igor Jesus, maybe just lacking a bit of conviction with that strike. I don't know what you think.
Well, I think what an effort. I thought the angle for him, he's just on his left hand side right in front of us, he's just come inside the pin of the box and he's hit it with some power. He gets in behind, it's a great little spin away run in between Diaz and Gahey. Gahey doesn't come across, you'd imagine he's expecting to be on the left hand side. Jesus just, he keeps going into the box and he drills it hard and low to the near side of Donnarumma. You would expect him to save it, but it's been hit with pace. There's Nico Williams is offside in the follow-up, and he's caught himself a sore one as he's tried to hit it. I think he's just caught the studs or the boot of Diaz.
Yeah, good spot, nasty. Good spot.
Yeah, they're sore ones, they're not fouls.
So it's towards Donnarumma's near post, he parries it, and then it's a loose ball which Diaz does get to first. Williams is already swinging his left leg, and it's an air shot, and he makes contact with the Portuguese centre-half. But that was encouragement if Vitor Pereira, he's now been able to, during the stoppage, to gather his team, and I'm not going to say that they'd happily accept with 34 minutes gone that they're only one down, but they're showing that they are in this game. They're
absolutely in this game, and even the goal, sometimes you just got to say that's exceptional quality. They must have had 7 or 8 of their own players inside the penalty box, and you could argue Semenyo's free. There's, one of the centre-backs, you're going to be tighter to him, you can't allow him enough space to get his foot up and get a shot on a post like that. At the same time, it's exceptional quality. The drive from Cherki, the little ball, you've got to just respect it was a really good finish. But Nottingham Forest have otherwise made it difficult for City. A couple of shots from outside the box, that's been about it. And then then it's about when they do get the moments, can they attack and create something dangerous? And you have to say they've had 1 or 2 opportunities that certainly in a different finish, they could have got a goal for themselves, and they'll have to lean into that and know that tactically they're set up very well and there is a lot of what they're doing that's effective, but the worst thing that could happen is they concede another before half time. So it's that balance of still being measured and still being defensively very, very disciplined and good.
You haven't missed anything. The action has been paused for a good 90 seconds or so. Nico Williams down towards the Manchester City goal, just the left-hand side of the 6-yard box, and he's having some heavy strapping on his right calf there. And the downside, of course, is, well, the upside is certainly he looks as though he's going to be fit to continue, but he will need to come to the sideline for 30 seconds, so the visitors will be down to 10. And against this Manchester City outfit, they'll want to try and keep that ball as far away from Matt Sells as possible. Another goal to tell you about. All square at Villa Park. João Pedro with an equaliser for Chelsea. So Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 1, cancelling out Luiz's goal in the 2nd minute. João Pedro there equalising in the 35th minute. And of course, intriguing English Premier League title race. What about up in Scotland? Aberdeen 0, Celtic 1. Kieran Tierney with the goal for Martin O'Neill's side. If you want to stay across all the permutations, the current live league standings, head to the BBC Sport website and app. And of course, Premier League highlights. It was a busy evening on Tuesday. It's a busy evening on Wednesday as well. Match of the day this evening, 10:40, BBC One, Danny Murphy and Micah Richards. And if you can't stay up that late, reminder, highlights on the BBC Sport website and app of all of the fixtures. Nico Williams is back on, so Forest up to their full allocation, and they are in defensive mode once again. Diaz approaching the midway point in the Nottingham Forest half. It's now on the left-hand side with Rayan Ait-Nouri trying to body swerve away from Dominguez. A ripple of applause as the Manchester City substitutes make their way down the sideline here. Ruben Diaz, centre on, drifts out wide left towards Ait-Nouri. Einet in that low squat position, defensive mode, just trying to jockey his man. Got a slight touch on the ball, but Cherki has it. Cherki, who's assisted the opening goal for Semenyo, flicks it around the corner looking for Ait-Nouri. Einet read it, and he's trying to give and go down the touchline, looking to switch play to Igor Jesus, who I think is going to be offside. He does get there eventually. That's one heck of a pass and a good persistent run from the Brazilian there, but unfortunately he was offside.
Yeah, he knew he was offside early on. There was a slight delay in the pass coming. He tried his best to run across the field to get himself back on side and just didn't quite do enough.
Manchester City have turned the ball over again. Igor Jesus, good 40 yards from goal, all alone, keeping possession though, supported by Dominguez. Sangari, he goes to retreat. Milenkovic, who's on the lip of the centre circle in the Forest half, just stubs at it, square pass towards Murillo. It's on the left hand side in front of Pep Guardiola. You can just see the back of his head. Murillo tries to go over the top. Gahey's there. Did that flick up off Bernardo Silva's arm? It did. So it'll be a Nottingham Forest free kick here. Centre on, midway into the Manchester City half. Thoughts on this one, Rachel? Because it's certainly too ambitious to go for goal. You just got to maybe try and create a bit of havoc in and around the 18-yard box. Yeah,
it's just one of those ones as centre-back, you hope they don't go for goal. I'm certain they won't. It's a good 40 or so yards away. Anderson's round the ball. And they've got height. You know, Milinkovic, Murillo, they're big targets in there. Sangare as well. They've got the opportunity here to work something, and right now they're choosing to stand beyond that City line. It looks like this is a pre-planned move, as you would expect it would be.
Just over 5 minutes of normal time remaining here in the first half. Anderson out towards the left-hand side of the penalty area. Milinkovic can't bring it under control. Anderson wins it back, though, prevents Cherky from leading a counter. Murillo goes back to Sells. Sells, who's 30 yards out from goal, unopposed, so gives it back to his Brazilian teammates. Murillo, low socks, short sleeves, stocky boxer build into Gibbs-White. Dominguez, tight on this far left-hand side, can't squeeze it through. Silva wins it back into the centre circle, chested by Antoine Semenyo. Manchester City looking to just keep possession here. I think certainly during that stoppage we were seeing signs that Pep Guardiola's not totally happy with his team. Can you see anything wrong necessarily with what they're doing, despite the scoreline, which has them 1-0 up?
I'm not sure what he's frustrated by, because I think City have been very controlled. The only thing maybe is they've allowed Forest a couple of opportunities, and I think he won't want that to be something that happens too many more times in this game, because at 1-0 you can never be sure. But otherwise, he did look unhappy.
It is a case of, as you were in the Premier League with the current scorelines, Arsenal 1 up against Brighton, Manchester City 1 up here against Nottingham Forest, 0-0 between West Ham and Fulham. That's West Ham at Fulham, and of course that currently means that Nottingham Forest only a point, keeping them out of the bottom three. Foden, left-hand side into Silva, chips in the cross. Murillo able to execute a good header and a flick on from Dominguez to find Gibbs-White. Gibbs-White, a heavy touch though. Counter looked to be threatening there once again for Nottingham Forest, but good work once again from Phil Foden, sniffing out the ball inside the penalty area. Wasn't the best of cross, and I think from a Pep Guardiola nerves perspective, he'll just want to try and get a bit more breathing room as soon as possible in this fixture. A busy run of games for his team. Business end of the Champions League, the FA Cup, and of course this fascinating title race. And Nottingham Forest have a free kick on the halfway line, 10 yards or so in front of the two technical areas.
Yeah, the last free kick was a waste, so this one, when you try to do something more, they've gone short. So Forest looking to just maybe wind the clock down a little bit, try and have a bit of possession, use that for a breather.
Well, there were a few thoughts that maybe Aston Villa had hit a bit of a wobble and they were looking to fall out of those Champions League places. Well, Ollie Watkins has put them back in front against Chelsea at Villa Park. That is live on BBC Sounds Sports Extra 3. Phil Foden here on Sports Extra, bringing Manchester City forward. Goes left to Haaland, in on goal. He's got a bit wide. He tries to scuff the shot. The angle was against him. He can only see the shot trickle into the side netting. But once again, Foden, Semenyo, Haaland, that's the link-up, and Forest can't do much about it.
The iconic combination of Foden to Haaland there that we've seen so many times. Brilliant little run in behind the Forest midfield, just slips Haaland from that central position down into that left channel. We've seen it so many times. I think Haaland, angle was tight. Could he maybe lifted it over Sells? Chose to go round him, couldn't quite squeeze it in.
Credit to the Belgian international goalkeeper. He certainly made the angle hard for the Norwegian marksman. Interesting comments from Vitor Pereira. I'm not convinced that Matt Sells is fully fit, but it is a case from his head coach that we need you. We need everyone to be counted here. He's an excellent goalkeeper, and they'll look to, I'm sure, just try and manage him. The fact that maybe there's an 8-day gap between fixtures now for Nottingham Forest, he can perhaps get a bit more treatment and hopefully bring himself back up to full speed. But his experience, obviously only a third season in the Premier League, so he hasn't grown up in this calibre of football, but obviously he's been involved in a relegation battle, and at one point it was a title charge last season as regards to Nottingham Forest. I remember Nuno Espirito Santo being asked about whether or not they could win the title, and fast forward now and things are starkly different, but they are holding their own here, Nottingham Forest, but still trailing in the 44th minute to Antoine Semenyo's left-footed volley. And Semenyo, left-hand side of the penalty area, he gets away from Cunha, deep cross, maybe too deep. Williams has to watch it, heads it clear only as far as Nunez. First time into Silva, back to Nunez, who's continued his run into the box. Is that overhit? Anderson comes across, he keeps the ball in play. Silva goes in, 50-50. What's the decision? Manchester City throw.
Just relentless from City just now.
Apologies, that Aston Villa goal has been chalked off, so it's back to Villa 1, Chelsea 1. Goal disallowed. If you want further details, they're available on the BBC Sport website and app. We will be heading back to 5 Live at half-time, where they'll be reviewing all of the game's action. So obviously those 3 games that have kicked off at 7:30, which ticking towards half-time as we are here. We're in the 45th minute. Yet to see how much additional time there is. And the scorelines are Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0. Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 1. Aston Villa with a second goal disallowed. And it is goalless between Fulham and West Ham. And Bukayo Saka with the difference so far, as Arsenal are 1-0 up away at Brighton. Aït-Nouri, centre of the park, gets away from Gibbs-White, centre on, moving at speed, the Algerian. Goes to his left, he's clattered. Referee wants to play the advantage, but Cherki's forced too far wide left, and they will pull it back, and that's a caution for Sangare, the first of the evening.
Aït-Nouri, another player for me who thoroughly enjoyed his performances at Wolves. Top player. Had a difficult start to life at Manchester City with his injury and getting himself back fit and available, but now I think we're starting to see what he can contribute, and if they can find a way to get him and Nico Riley, who of course played a lot of his minutes at left back, I think that's a potentially very potent attack to add down that left hand side.
No Nico O'Reilly in the matchday squad. He is here this evening, just a few rows in front of myself and Rachel here, not part of the squad. Did pick up a knock in that victory away at Leeds United on Saturday. And after tonight's game, it's 5 games in 15 days for Manchester City, so Pep Guardiola clearly not wanting to take any risks. Free kick, Manchester City. Foden goes to the left-hand side. Semenyo goes low with a cross, straight across goal. Haaland was outstretched, and despite his giant physique, he couldn't get a toe on it, and it goes out to safety over the far side. What a ball in by Antoine Semenyo. He's got his head in his hands because he can't believe someone's not got on the end of it.
I cannot believe Haaland's not scored, and it would have been his simplest of all of his City goals from just 2 yards out. Semenyo just gets it, he gets it early, loads of space, he just goes as fast as he can, 2-3 touches out his feet, and just fizzes it low on the ground across the face. Absolute classic wide player. You know, that's what he can bring. Yes, he's playing in a more central position for the most part, but put him in the wide areas, work a set play, and you see how good he can be as well, and off the touchline.
5 goals in his previous 7 appearances against Nottingham Forest for Erling Haaland, which included a hat-trick here in August 2022 when Nottingham Forest were returning back to the Premier League. That was a welcome to the big time from Erling Haaland, scoring a hat-trick, but he hasn't scored against Nottingham Forest in his last 3 appearances. Manchester City won a free kick. Darren England clearly says, you've got the ball, play on. Cherki on this right-hand side. Haaland in front of him, slips it into the Norwegian. Wide right, on his left foot, goes for a deep cross, looking for Aït-Nouri, overhit, and that will be a Nottingham Forest goal kick. We played 2 minutes and 20 of the minimum 40 played in this first half.
Far too much on that from Haaland. Maybe just evidence he's better off staying in that number 9 position and letting the various number 10 magicians do that bit for him.
Leeds was the first Premier League game that he's missed this season. Obviously, a club he knows well. He was born in Leeds. Obviously, his dad played for Leeds. His dad also played for Nottingham Forest as well. And I'm sure he's here somewhere this evening in the Etihad Stadium as we tick into the 4th minute, so a minimum of 4 additional minutes of stoppage time. The whistle's already blown at Craven Cottage at the break. Fulham 0, West Ham 0, and Nottingham Forest supporters will know that with the current scoreline that their former manager Nuno Espirito Santo, his team are moving to within a point of Nottingham Forest in the standings. Of course, Nottingham Forest still outside the relegation zone, but should they lose and should West Ham draw, that gap would be cut to just a single point.
Incredibly tight down the bottom as well as up the top.
And also incredibly tight in Scotland, and this is a big goal as well, an equaliser for Aberdeen. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 1. Nisbet from the penalty spot. I won't give away any allegiances there, but there's a bit of body language from someone who sat not too far away from me. But this is what we want across football, whether it's the WSL, if it's the SPL, if it's the Premier League. We want competitive games that matter. And wherever you look out throughout the UK, there's stories here, there and everywhere, Rachel. But that is the whistle. Pause on that. I'll get your reflections on what's been a good first half here, separated by just one goal. Antoine Semenyo bagging his 6th goal in Manchester City colours. Good work from Cherky, dinked in the cross, and it was a calm, composed, side-footed finish. There was a big chance at the other end, first for Morgan Gibbs-White, also Igor Jesus, but at the break, Rachel Coursey, Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0. On reflection, a fair scoreline?
I think it's a fair scoreline. I think City have been very composed, very dominant in a lot of areas. Yes, as you touched on, they've given Nottingham Forest a few glimpses. In Forest, they've been effective in that counter-attacking opportunities. You know, when they win the ball, they have managed to find Igor Jesus. Yes, Gibbs-White has worked off him really well. Should have done better on that opportunity, but otherwise I think it's been dominant from City. Gahey defensively has been very good, and otherwise, you know, it's been about Cherky, Foden getting on the ball, little slip passes, great assist for the Semenyo goal as well, beautiful finish, and it feels a very classic Manchester City performance for this time in the season.
Thanks very much, Rachel. We'll take a slight pause. We're going to wrap things up from the Etihad for a short period of time. And with Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0, we're going to hand you back to Mark Chapman on BBC Radio 5 Live.
Every time Arsenal get a set piece anywhere on the pitch, it's going to get to the point where the fans are calling out the timing and how long it's taking them. But beyond that, the two managers have been at each other, and every time Brighton have looked to go forward, they've looked dangerous as well, and I think that's as much as anything got the Brighton fans going.
I don't think we've seen an Arsenal corner tonight. Am I right? Can't remember one.
There was that deep free kick, but that's it.
Free kicks, yeah, no corners as yet this evening, no.
How big a deflection would you say there was on the goal, Rob?
Oh, it was huge, chappers. It was massive. It was a very, very weak shot that managed to get slower after the deflection, but not as slow as Verbruggen's reaction. I don't know. It was a strange one because I think he felt like he was almost waiting for the shot for too long and trying to stop his fall, and that stopped him trying to react. I'm trying to make up a case here because you feel even with the deflection, there wasn't much of a reaction from him, was there?
1-0 to Arsenal at the break. We'll be back for the second half. Now, 5 minutes ago, Villa thought they were 2-1 up at home to Chelsea. It got ruled out for a marginal offside. And now, Julia Bold.
It's Aston Villa 1 at Chelsea 2. Enzo Fernandez chipping the ball into João Pedro, who has put it into the back of the net. We have got added time here of 8 minutes. Are they looking at this? The ref just seems to do
you're there.
Well, we barely knew before. Everyone was celebrating and we didn't know. There is a look. Yes, possible offside.
They paused it, and look, it's on one of the smaller screens in the studio and a fair way away, but it looked as tight as the Villa one that was ruled out. So it could go either way. Whilst we wait for this, let's go to the Etihad. Half-time there. Arsenal a goal up, City a goal up. John Bennett.
Yes, Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0. Forest frustrated Man City for 31 minutes, looking solid after going through at the back, packing the midfield, but Ryan Cherky skillfully entered the box and his cross was volleyed in by Antoine Semenyo, his 5th Premier League goal since joining Man City. Pep Guardiola's side have dominated, but Forest yet again have created chances on the break. Gibbs-White came close, Igor Jesus came close as well. So far, so good then for Manchester City, looking at a 5th straight Premier League win. Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0.
What happened, Julia?
It says on the screen, decision goal, no offside offence on João Pedro. So his 2nd of the night stands. Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 2.
Craven Cottage, John Southall.
Not much thrill here. Fulham 0, West Ham 0. Half short on chances, one each early on in the first minute. Castellanos denied by Leno. And for Fulham, Josh King in a very good position on the right of the area, shot wide from 12 yards. Then in added time, Josh King again on the turn, on the right, saved by Hermanson. Good save that. And Mark, we had a West Ham corner in this game. There was no pulling, no jostling, no grappling, no throttling each other. Very disconcerting. Old school corner. But with Forest losing, this is a real chance for West Ham to rise out of the bottom three, but they have to win. Fulham 0, West Ham 0.
10 minutes into the game at St James's Park. Gary Flintoff.
No goals as yet, but a very bright start by the home side. In fact, Newcastle have managed to hit the post, albeit it was a cross from Kieran Trippier, which just drifted over goalkeeper Sonny Lomans and just came back off the woodwork. Lewis Hall then blazed the resulting chance off the woodwork over the bar. Matthias Cunha had an opening, but he also blazed high and wide. But so far, so good. This game has promise. Newcastle 0, Manchester United 0.
Sports Extra 3 if you want to listen to it, and then it will be here on 5 Live at the conclusion of Brighton against Arsenal. Celtic have a chance to go second in the Scottish Premiership this evening. As it stands, though, they're not taking it at Aberdeen. Kenny Crawford.
Yeah, 25 minutes gone. This game's ticking along nicely. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 1. It was the visitors who got the fast start on 5 minutes. Kieran Tierney's second goal in 2 games that came from Luke McCown's out-swinging corner, which was flicked on by Scales, and there was Tierney to poke it into the roof of the net from inside the 6-yard box. But then Aberdeen got a penalty. Osolanya failed by Liam Scales, and Kevin Nisbet stepped up, former Millwall striker, for his 8th goal of the season in the right corner to bring Aberdeen level. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 1.
8:25, this is 5 Live Sport, and Andrew Strachan has the news.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you. President Trump's spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt says US operations in Iran are aimed at permanently extinguishing the country's nuclear ambitions. She was speaking in her first press briefing from the White House since the conflict began.
Number 1, destroy the regime's deadly ballistic missiles and completely raze their missile industry to the ground. Number 2, annihilate the Iranian regime's navy. And so far, we have destroyed more than 20 Iranian ships, including their top submarine last night, using a torpedo for the first time since World War II.
President Trump is due to speak at the White House shortly. Earlier, the US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told reporters a US submarine had fired a torpedo in international waters, sinking an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean. Around 140 people are presumed dead. Iran's president has addressed leaders of neighbouring states, insisting Tehran respects their sovereignty but asked to defend itself from the US and Israeli attacks. And the UN's refugee agency is warning that intensifying violence across the Middle East and beyond is already triggering significant population movement. An estimated 275,000 people have been displaced since Saturday. And in other news, the Scottish Labour MP Joni Rees says she's never seen anything to make her suspect her husband David Taylor has broken any law after 3 men were arrested on suspicion of spying for China. The men were detained as part of a counter-terrorism investigation.
Good morning, everyone. It is 5 Live Breakfast.
On 5 Live Breakfast today, we looked ahead to the first repatriation flight for British nationals from the Middle East.
Oman's a good choice because it's about 1,200 miles from Tehran. The capital, Muscat, is just a 280-mile drive from UAE's biggest city, Dubai.
This is 5 Live Breakfast.
What we're going to do is just give you some context, help you understand really what's going on, what it means for us here in the UK, what it means globally as well.
Wake up with 5 Live Breakfast, weekdays from 6.
Ask your smart speaker.
Play BBC Radio 5 Live.
This is 5 Live Sports with Mark Chapman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Half-time in 4 Premier League games tonight. Chelsea are 2-1 up at Villa. Arsenal lead at Brighton by a goal to nil. It's goalless between Fulham and West Ham, and Manchester City are 1 up on Nottingham Forest. Newcastle 0, Manchester United 0 as they approach the quarter-hour mark at St James's Park, and they're approaching the half-hour mark at Pittodrie, where it's Aberdeen 1, Celtic 1. New Zealand have beaten South Africa by 9 wickets to book their place in the men's T20 World Cup final. South Africa reached 169 for 8. New Zealand reached that target in less than 13 overs thanks to Finn Allen hitting an unbeaten 100 in 33 balls. Former England international David Milan is with us. What a knock. What a knock.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? There's very few times you can say someone was world class, but Finn Allen went and took the game away from South Africa. I mean, to score 133 balls in the World Cup semi-final, I mean, take a bow. Fantastic performance from him.
And the bizarre thing was, actually, for the opening partnership, he was actually the junior partner in terms of scoring, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Tim Seifert came out the blocks absolutely firing. He managed to put New Zealand in the driving seat, and then Finn Allen just kept on with the momentum, especially when Tim Seifert got out. There was no hint of him slowing down. He just constantly put South Africa under pressure, and it was amazing to see how clean he hit the ball. He didn't give a chance, and very often do you see a batter score 100 in a T20 game and not give a chance, and it was just the perfect innings from him.
It kind of shows, when we look ahead to England-India tomorrow, how difficult it is to predict that, because South Africa have, up until that New Zealand innings, looked the best team out there, haven't they?
They have, by far. They've played the best cricket, been the most consistent. They won the most games, the only unbeaten team in the tournament. So they did exceptionally well. But it just shows when you get to knockout games, if you turn up and play really well on the day, it can be anyone's game. And that will give England so much confidence tomorrow. I mean, India, before this tournament, would probably have been the favourites. I know South Africa beat them, but England have a chance now to do what New Zealand did to South Africa and put in a good performance. And it all starts with winning the toss. If they can win the toss tomorrow and chase in Mumbai, I think it will put them in good stead.
If you take home advantage and home crowd out of this, would you say it's finely balanced and could, therefore, as you have just said, be determined on the toss of a coin?
Yeah, well, majority of the games in India, especially when you play in the evening games, the dew factor plays such a big part. It just allows the team batting second to have, I wouldn't say an unfair advantage in terms of conditions, but the ball skids a bit. It doesn't turn as much. And I expect it to be a fresh and a flat wicket in Mumbai. So when you put that into place with the home crowd, it's going to be a tough challenge for England. But if you can win the toss and put India in, put them under pressure, they've got the expectations of all those people watching, the expectations that they're going to win this tournament, put them under pressure early, see where they end up, and hopefully the dew plays a big part and England can bat on a wicket that would hopefully be easier to play on.
Thank you, David. David Milan there. Commentary on Sports Extra from 1:30 in-play clips on the BBC Sport website and app. Let's switch to tennis. Indian Wells is one of the biggest tournaments on the calendar outside of the slams, and it gets underway today. But Russell Fuller, because of everything that's going on in the Middle East, it will be without some of its biggest names.
Yes, although I think, Mark, that all those who were playing in Dubai last week may all be out of the area by now. The ATP are not commenting on individuals, and we know that Daniil Medvedev and Karen Khachanov, two of those affected, are due to practice here for the first time at 6 p.m. this evening. It appears they may have left by private jet from Oman along with Andrei Rublev. Henry Patton and Harry Heliavara have managed to get out of Dubai today. They're currently in Rome. They had to fly to Rome via Cairo, and Heliavara was detailing in his blog yesterday how they tried to get into Oman by car on Tuesday, but couldn't get across the border, and one of the reasons was that the car had a UAE number plate. And as of yesterday, Coco Gauff's coach was still stuck in the region. Here she is, showing great perspective as ever to sum up the situation.
My coach, Gavin, is actually there right now. He's currently stuck, and I don't know if he's going to make it. I just want him to be safe, but I don't know if when he can leave and things like that. We're just taking it day by day with him. But yeah, I've never felt unsafe here. I've never really felt unsafe in a lot of parts of the world. And it's one of the things that, yeah, violence can happen, but it can happen in different forms. For example, in the U.S., we do have a lot of mass shootings, and there's always uncertainty with that. So yeah, and I don't think, a lot of hate is being towards the Middle East, but I think it's just a lot of unfortunate circumstances that are happening right now, and the timing of everything makes it difficult that there are the guys that are there stuck. But I am thankful that I was able to get out of that before things turn to where it is now.
So there may be a coach or two missing. There may be one or two players who have to pull out of the draw, but I think all the big names in the singles probably will be able to take part. Medvedev, for example, is not due to play until Saturday anyway, so he'll be ready to start, although he'll be dealing with 12 hours of jet lag and will have only 3 days to get over that. And the other thing just to say finally, Mark, is that this is technically a mandatory tournament. There would normally be penalties, ranking points penalties for not taking part, but if players do skip it because of these reasons, then I've been told that they will not be punished further.
Thank you very much, Russell. Let's switch to the golf. Luke Donald will captain Europe for the Ryder Cup in Ireland next year. He could now become the first captain to win the competition 3 times in a row, and here's why he's doing it again.
To be totally honest, I probably didn't firmly make up my mind till a few weeks ago. I think the time between Rome and New York was very short. I was very eager to get back into having an opportunity to try and win an away Ryder Cup in New York. That was a big challenge for me, and there was really no real time between those Ryder Cups to kind of relax and let it sink in. So I felt like for 3.5, 4 straight years, I was just involved with Ryder Cups. So I did want to take some time, this one, enjoy it. And to be honest, after we won in New York, it wasn't really at the forefront of my mind at all. So, but, I think having got some backing from my family, from players, and just realising the opportunity, especially being in Ireland, just a great place, at Adare. We know how special that's going to be, the 100th anniversary. The opportunity seemed something that I should really think about.
So that's Luke Donald, Alistair Bruce Ball, part of 5 Live Sports golf team, covered many a Ryder Cup. And over the course of you covering the Ryder Cup, what Luke Donald has done has taken the role of captain from ceremonial to like being a head.
Welcome back to the Etihad Stadium. Players have emerged from the tunnel for the second half, where it is Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0. Antoine Semenyo, his goal, the difference, as he continues his excellent transition from life on the south coast to life here in the northwest. He is an immense addition to Pep Guardiola's weaponry, and it is a case of as you were in terms of the Premier League current standing, certainly when we're looking at the top end of it. So Arsenal currently 1-0 up away at Brighton. They have their 5-point gap, which Manchester City are maintaining here. Should there be any goals from elsewhere, we will keep you updated here. Your one-stop shop is the BBC Sport website and app, where you can see all the scores and a choice of listening. Thanks for joining us here on Sports Extra and BBC Sounds, where we are underway, and I'll run you through the teams. No changes made by either manager during the half-time interval. So as for the host, Manchester City, Donnarumma in goal, the back four right to left, Nunez, Diaz, Guehi and Ait-Nouri. The midfield, Rodri, Silva, Foden. Cherki it was who provided the assist for Antoine Semenyo, and it of course is the return of Erling Haaland, who missed the trip to Leeds on Saturday. As for the visitors, Sells in goal, a back three this time, Cunha, Milenkovic and Murillo. The wing-backs are Aina and Williams, Sangari and Anderson, they're the central midfielders. The forward line of Gibbs-White, Dominguez and Jesus. It is with Manchester City and Mark Guehi. Cushions it with his left foot. There's a little bit of moisture seems to be in the air here in Manchester. Lots of short sleeves around. Rayan Cherki, though, has a base layer on. Obviously first season in English football for the Frenchman, and it's with the Algerian international Ryan Ait-Nouri. Back to Guehi, Silva, Tom Gale alongside former Scotland international Rachel Corsie, and will take us inside the Nottingham Forest dressing room at half-time. Rachel, what do you think the key instructions from Vitor Pereira would be in terms of trying to get something from this game?
I think these opening 15 minutes of the half, it's to stay compact, similar to that first half, because you're very much in it at 1-0. Touch on the players that can bring off the bench, wide areas, change that dynamism of the attack, but you don't want to do that too soon, and I think they have been effective. They have frustrated City. It took a brilliant little run from Cherki and a great finish from Semenyo to open them up. So more of the same I would expect from Forest, and you see the discipline of the back line right now as Man City have the ball in their half.
Lots of red shirts back in their numbers. Nottingham Forest will be kicking to the south stand in this second half towards that section of their away support, as Ait-Nouri wriggles away from Dominguez. Lovely close control right hand side of the penalty area, glides past another. What's he got? Maybe one too many. Nico Williams has it down by the corner flag, looks to clear his lines only as far as Ruben Diaz. He tries to find Phil Foden, he does. Morgan Gibbs-White chasing shadows there, the Nottingham Forest number 10. Here's the godfather of Phil Foden's eldest son. Those two go way back from their England youth international days. Very much against each other, though, this evening. And it's Foden who's winning that duel in terms of his Manchester City side being 1-0 up, courtesy of Antoine Semenyo. Bernardo Silva over to the right-hand side once again. Nunez checks the cross onto his left. Nico Williams, the only one who comes close, tries to go around the outside, checks back to his left, cross turn. Bernardo Silva look to square it across the 18-yard box. It's now with Aït-Nouri. Give and go with Cherki. Cherki drifting over towards his left-hand side, tracked by Sangari. Pushed back towards the halfway line, and Gehi. Cherki into Diaz. Little fizz on the pass just to help bring Manchester City forward. Diaz looking for options, tried to square it. Diaz picks out Dominguez unintentionally, and he can only go as far as Donnarumma.
It was good from Dominguez to stop the attack initially. Read the play from Diaz, stole it, and then hurried that pass to Jesus.
Bernardo Silva, right-hand side of the penalty area. Nico Williams and Elliot Anderson trying to double-team. Wriggles away from them all! Shot across goal towards the opposite corner, and he was inches away from a Manchester City second. The captain doing it all on his own from a near impossible angle.
And it's a great save. Sells just trying to sell the dummy of the fact he did get a touch on it, but he deserves credit for it. Wonderful feet from Silva inside the box. Can't touch him. His feet are so quick, just the shift right to left, and then left foot again to chop back, and Nico Williams just uses his instep, bends it to the far corner. Incredible save from Sells.
Ryan Cherki drawing the applause from the North Stand as he trots over to take this corner. Deep inhale, right-footed towards the far post, towards Rodri, who makes contact. The second one is by Sangari, and it's now in the left-back position with Dominguez. Dinks it down the line towards Anderson. He can't bring it under control. It will be a Manchester City throw. Reminder those scorelines from elsewhere. Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 2. Chelsea coming from behind to lead at Villa Park. Aston Villa with a goal disallowed. Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. Fulham 0, West Ham 0. And the game that kicks off at 8:15 is Newcastle 0, Manchester United 0. You can listen to all of those. Choice of listening on the BBC Sport website, BBC Sport app. BBC Sounds is where you find our good selves here. Sports Extra 2 for Aston Villa, Chelsea. Sports Extra 3 for Newcastle against Manchester United, and it's BBC Radio 5 Live for Brighton, Arsenal, and on the BBC Sport website if you want to listen to Fulham against West Ham. Let's be honest, Rachel, would there be any checking of scorelines from elsewhere, from either camp? Were Manchester City looking to see if Arsenal are winning, and likewise with Nottingham Forest checking on how West Ham were getting on?
I would expect there'll be people on both benches that know whether they're supposed to be looking. There will inevitably
would you have had a
look?
Would you have asked the question?
I know I wouldn't have, but I know that other people do. So you're trying not to know. And
so it's inevitable, basically. Someone eventually.
You feel in the air. You feel the energies. There's something about that. So they probably do know, but during the game, the right people are focused on this game in hand. You know, Pep very much will be entirely focused on this game. You'll be fine maybe that someone's keeping an eye. Doesn't really matter. He's going to keep his focus where it needs to be.
Nunez on the right-hand side. I've said that a lot this evening. Goes into Phil Foden, who's more central, along with Bernardo Silva. Diaz thought about the cross, thought about the through ball. Just shifts it wide to Nunez, back to Bernardo Silva. Squared. Aït-Nouri lets the dummy go. Cherki trying to create room. Oh, lovely. He got away from Dominguez, let fly from the edge of the box. The shot was always rising, but great bit of creativity from the Frenchman.
Just endless skills. Every game I feel like Cherki shows us something new, and lovely little dummy from Aït-Nouri. Cherki just to the left of the box, shifts it inside Dominguez. He's inside the area, just tries to fizz it with his laces, cuts across it. Probably 2-3 yards over the bar in the end. Brilliant play.
So that is the former Scotland international Rachel Coursey alongside me, Tom Gale. This is 5 Sports Extra, BBC Sounds. Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0. A reminder, 10:40 this evening. BBC Match of the Day, hosted by Mark Chapman alongside Danny Murphy and Micah Richards, dissecting all of Wednesday night as well as Tuesday night's action. Foden, 30 yards out, centre on his left foot. Bodies are moving to both sides of him. It's back with the England international. Aït-Nouri. Sangari trying to get Nottingham Forest out of this deep block that they're trying to hold here. They can't get anywhere near the ball at the moment. It's keep ball from Pep Guardiola's side. Pep on the edge of his technical area, arms folded. all in black this evening, Mr. Guardiola. And he's watching on with Nunez up against Nico Williams, coming infield to Bernardo Silva. Dominguez breaks the press, comes out. Cherky skips away from Anderson. Back to Bernardo Silva. The referee, Darren England, just trying desperately not to get in the way of the ball here. How many touches are Manchester City having here? Talk about the focus required for Nottingham Forest here. Jesus just tries to press, but the ball's easily pinged around him. Bernardo Silva, Manchester City in complete control here. They're coming forward looking for Haaland. Murillo steps across, finds Gibbs White, but he's all alone in the centre of the field. Was there a tug on the shirt there? There was. So it will be a Nottingham Forest free kick, and Morgan Gibbs White wants to take this quickly. I'm not quite sure why, because he's got limited options in terms of support here. There's got to be a sense of game management here from Nottingham Forest.
It does. You'd have to imagine that's been something that tactically they've spoken about in terms of get the ball back and play quickly. And I think sometimes the first and second pass can be quick, but then it's about can you be calm and composed. And I would say Forest have probably done that quite well. I agree with you there. The right decision, or it was a relief for Forest that the referee blew his whistle to make sure they did slow down. Because a quick free kick, I think, was just going to be a sabotage for Forest.
Just to the left of myself and Rachel in the Colin Bound standards, both sets of substitutes, and they're watching Erling Haaland here, 30 yards out, shifts it to his left into Cherky. He got the cry of man on and just blindly played the ball backward, but he knew that Rodri would be there in position. It's now again on the right hand side. Nunez, who's been up and down, goes a long way around and hits an overhit cross, which does end up in the substitutes. Jeremy Doku, Hutchinson just shifts it back onto the turf, and Ola Aina will take the throw for Nottingham Forest. Actually preparing to make a change here, Callum Hudson-Odoi, just receiving a few final instructions from his head coach Vitor Pereira. Obviously Callum Hudson-Odoi, one of two changes made by Pereira. He dropped out to the bench along with Hutchinson, and he's going to get at least a good spell, 35 minutes or not more in this second half. Callum Hudson-Odoi, what will he bring, Rachel?
Well, I think they might slightly adjust the shape on one side potentially to just allow him to play more in that wide area where he's most comfortable, can get in the ball, drive and get at players. Saw Nico Williams see a fair share of the ball in the first half, and Forest left hand side, so if he can pick up those sorts of areas and can get at City, that might be the area where Forest can try and build something.
At the moment though, Nottingham Forest have turned the ball over. They're inviting trouble here. Cherky out to the right hand side to Silva. Foden back to goal, can't bring it under control. Dominguez has it into Gibbs White. Good first touch with his knee to try and bring Nottingham Forest forward here. It's behind Dominguez, but he swivels away from Semenyo. Ola Aina midway into the Manchester City half. White wide right, all in red, goes towards the back post. Igor Jesus keeps it alive. Back to Gibbs White with a back heel finish. Incredible stuff from Forest number 10. A devastating counter, and we are all square at the Etihad. A wonder goal. Incredible improvisation from Morgan Gibbs White to make it Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 1.
I tell you what, Tom, that is a sensational goal from Forest, and one player who won't get much credit, I doubt, in this goal is Dominguez, but he wins the ball back. He does incredibly well to find Gibbs White. As you said in a moment, great first touch around the halfway line, protects it, finds Dominguez again. The ball ends up out at Ola Aina just on this right hand side. He's onside, just breaking over the halfway line when he receives it, and he just drives. You think when he plays the cross, Aitan Nuri goes shoulder to shoulder with him, the cross looks like it's overhit. Jesus keeps it alive, and the back heel from Gibbs White, it falls just on the edge of the 6-yard box, fairly central. He just uses his right foot through the legs of Diaz. Wrong foot's Donnarumma, can't really see it till it's already past him. What a goal that is for Forest.
The goal stands, there were of course always the compulsory VAR checks, but I'm looking at the aeroplane celebration from Morgan Gibbs White into the fingers in the ears, the knee slide in front of the south stands, and there's a few Manchester City supporters on their feet now. They know that this title race is tense. If you can't watch, if you can't listen, understandably, just switch off all notifications, because this is going to be one roller coaster of an evening, because as it stands, Arsenal are increasing their advantage at the top. And Nottingham Forest are also doing their bit to keep West Ham at arm's length in terms of the relegation battle. Bernardo Silva's deflected shot falls to Shirky. Is there a cry for handball there? It's hooked clear by Murillo. Good defending once again from Nottingham Forest. Anderson has it. He needs some help though. He wriggles away from Bernardo Silva. He's in a left back position. Williams tries to clear. That's deflected. Haaland's going to challenge Sells, and Sells gets it and goes to ground just to take the sting out of that little bit of a madness spell there. But Manchester City straight on the offensive, trying to regain their advantage here.
And once again, Forest get the ball back in play nice and quickly, which does feel like a risk, but they have been good in possession. They've showed their quality in the right moments.
And Morgan Gibbs-White is now clear in seconds as Nottingham Forest's second all-time goal scorer in the Premier League. Can he get another here? He's trying to link up with Igor Jesus. Have to acknowledge his contribution, the Brazilian as well, who's been feeding off scraps in this game. A good header, but all Gibbs-White could really do was attempt the back heel, and boy did it come off. One to watch on Match of the Day, but looks as though there's going to be more goals in this. Williams goes low with the cross on the left-hand side. Dominguez back out to Elliot Anderson, left-hand side of the penalty area. On his right foot, slips, able to recover, but can only direct it towards Rodri, and the appeals are because Haaland's been bundled off the ball. I think this might be a caution as well. It is. Haaland denied the counter-attack, and it's Murillo who's shown the yellow cards.
And he's laughing, but it's cynical. He knows what he's doing. It's about 10 yards inside Man City's half, and he just thinks, we'll stop this here, and then we'll get all behind the ball. And really good play from Forest. A little scary moment after the goal with it to defend well. They get the bodies in the way of shots at their own goal, and then they had a moment themselves to attack again, and it was Elliot Anderson who you thought it was just going to open up on the left-hand side for him to shoot with his right foot. He slipped at the worst possible moment, but great response from Forest, you have to say, in the second half.
Well, that goal has done wonders for the atmosphere, because I think it has to be said, Manchester City were cruising, and you did always get, well, there was certainly signs in that first half that Nottingham Forest are here to try and score. How many they can score, because that's one of the big downfalls this season. Only 27 Premier League goals this season, but what a 27th it could be from Morgan Gibbs-White as he looks to pick out Dominguez, who goes shoulder to shoulder with Ruben Diaz, and the applause will tell you that the Portuguese defender came away with possession. But Nottingham Forest are more than up for the fight, and this is a big test, isn't it? Because they're all big tests, Rachel, but again, we referenced, did they know at half-time? They would have heard West Ham are drawing, the gap is cut to 1 point. If we can get something, though, and they've stuck to their game plan, credits to the head coach and the players.
Absolutely. The worry is, as you see, the game's probably opened up in the last 2 or 3 minutes. I think that slightly does favour City, because I think what it'll do is it'll leave gaps in that back line of Forest.
Haaland, wide right, trying to go alone up against Murillo on his left foot, deflects, and onto the roof of Sells' net. Well, you talked about the game being open and free-flowing. Erling Haaland taking it upon himself. He's wide right, not the most natural position, but he wants to get on the score sheet.
No, and that's what it does open up, those opportunities for attacking players, him, Semenyo, Cherky to drive and shoot. And when you've left, that back five has been very solid with the three in front. That doesn't open up, but in situations when the game becomes alive, it can do.
Manchester City corner to be taken by Ryan Ait-Nouri. In front of the north stand, over the opposite side, just in front of the assistant, Akil Housen. It's going to be left-footed. It's a good delivery, a difficult one, and it's met by Diaz! Actually, it's Rodri! And in the back of the net. It wouldn't be 2026 without a goal from a corner. It's not Arsenal, it's Manchester City, and it's Rodri with his first Premier League goal of the season. Short-lived at all level for Nottingham Forest. Manchester City are back in front. Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 1.
Well, it's not a goal we typically see from Rodri, and he probably couldn't really miss. It looks as though the delivery, it's an in-swinger, just comes right on top of the goalkeeper, who looks as though he's feeling like he's been impeded. Well, I'm doing Rodri an injustice there. He comes in, it's 3 or 4 yards out. He's strong, he's aggressive, he's wide open, but it's a good header down to the ground, bounces up into the net. Forest have all to do now once again. Takes a deflection, that probably makes it difficult for Sells to react and do anything more.
Oh, there's a little bit of afters off the ball here. Milenkovic has just been shown a caution. Donnarumma seems to be the ilk of his eye. I'm not sure what's quite upset the Serbian, but he's been shown a yellow card, and his side trail. He's still got more to be said to the Italian goalkeeper, and in particular the referee. I think we're looking back on the replays, it is the predictable scenes of grappling and holding, but Williams and Haaland are closest to Sells, and it's actually Williams who's actually the closest to him when he's talking about contact, Rachel.
It looks that way. I think initially Haaland does sort of come, there is a coming together, but it's sort of long before I think even the ball has left the foot and been delivered into the box. So Matt Sells is irate that nothing more has been done, but sometimes goalkeepers, they allow themselves to be distracted by these moments, that they feel they're bigger than what they are because they're protected a lot of the time. And
this is the sound of the Etihad, and it's Manchester City back in front. Nottingham Forest have made a change. Dominguez has gone off and Hudson-Odoi is on, and they're looking to get themselves back in this game once again. If you have joined us late, Antoine Semenyo's left-footed volley in the first half separated the two sides. In the 56th minute, an audacious back heel from Morgan Gibbs-White levelled things up, and then 6 minutes later, that's how long Nottingham Forest had found themselves level. Rodri heading home from a corner. Sells with his appeals. VAR took a look. VAR were happy. The goal stands, and Manchester City lead 2-1. More goals from elsewhere. Cole Palmer back on a Premier League score sheet to make it Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 3. So that looks set to be, as it stands, a big win for Chelsea. But as you know, long way to go. We've only played 20 minutes in the second half here. A reminder of those scorelines in the 7:30pms. Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. As we know here, Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 1. It is now Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 3, and Fulham 0, West Ham 0, Manchester City 0, Manchester United 0. That latter fixture kicked off at 8:15. Good ball in, headed clear by Gahey. Jesus was looming threateningly on the shoulder of the England defender there. Haaland's looking to chase down Milenkovic. Milenkovic looked to have cut short his back pass there, but it does get through to Matt Sells.
It's a hard mouth moment. The ball was bouncing, he was waiting for it to drop so he could get it on the volley back to Sells, and the longer it was taking to come down, Haaland was closing in. Just about made it happen.
Well, Rachel, you did predict that the game would open up, but again, we're seeing how telling set pieces are. I can't really see the complaints from a Nottingham Forest perspective, more in hope than actual certainty that anything would have led to that goal being overturned.
Didn't look a foul to me, and you know, you got to then question why and how has Rodri just sailed in at the back post and been able to get that free header. You know, that would frustrate me more as a player. A little coming together in goalkeeper, but at the end of the day, it's a free header from 3 yards out.
And that's the thoughts of Rachel Coursey. You can hear the thoughts of Danny Murphy and Micah Richards. BBC match of the day this evening, 10:40pm, BBC One. iPlayer first thing from tomorrow morning. And a reminder, late this evening, probably around about 11pm, you'll be able to watch back all the highlights from all of the Premier League games this evening on the BBC Sport website and app. If you haven't already, Tuesday's action is already there for you on the BBC Sport website and app. Choice of listening, 5 Live, currently Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. Here on Sports Extra, Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 1. Sports Extra 2 is Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 3. Sports Extra 3 in the first half is Manchester United away at Newcastle, that's goalless. And on the BBC Sport website, goalless at Craven Cottage, Fulham 0, West Ham United 0. Foden. Rodri, the goal scorer, with his forehead, switches it over to the right-hand side. Cherki, deft touch to bring the ball under control. 25 yards out from the Nottingham Forest goal, in front of a very healthy North Stand full of Manchester City supporters who felt a lot of ire and anger at that Nottingham Forest equaliser, and that's the sort of perfect response that you want to see from your side, is just to settle any nerves, because I think that's the thing. The longer this game stayed at 1-1, the more potential angst there'd be from the supporters of Manchester City. It might project onto the players in sky blue.
Exactly that, Tom. How many times do you see that where you just feel the energy change inside the stadium? But I mean, that goal really did spark the game into life, and both teams had sort of half chances and good moments.
Manchester City have turned the ball over. Morgan Gibbs-White working tirelessly, can't shake off Ait Nouri. Ait Nouri goes in with a 50-50 with Cunha. Didn't seem to be anything in that. Cunha went down the heavier, and the decision is a Nottingham Forest throw. Referee Darren England just checking on the Brazilian, who turns 21 on Saturday, just his second Premier League start. What have you made of Vitor Pereira's decision to go to a back three this evening, Rachel Coursey?
It's been effective. It's been really effective. You know, took a great goal. They've lost a goal from a set piece. Otherwise, really disciplined. I think Cunha's he settled in, looked very comfortable. Alongside two players, Murillo and Milenkovic, though, are very experienced and very solid and resilient in how they defend, and he's leaning into that.
Anderson with Nottingham Forest free kick, lofted up, met by Milenkovic, down towards Williams, but Nunez gets there first, and Semenyo keep the ball in play. Perhaps not having the agency that some Manchester City supporters want, but they are 2-1, and he's just understandably waiting for extra support here. It's now in the centre of the park. Phil Foden had a good game, back in the starting 11. It's a big decision for Thomas Tuchel this summer in terms of who he leaves at home from an England's number 10, all those sort of maverick midfield positions. Cole Palmer's on the score sheet this evening. Lots of healthy competition, but all of these footballers' attention is very much the here and now in the Premier League, and this game has interests at top and bottom. With the current scorelines, Manchester City are maintaining the 5-point gap to leaders Arsenal, whereas Nottingham Forest are seeing their advantage over the bottom three cut to just a single point. A few jeers as Morgan Gibbs-White can't bring the ball under control, and he's certainly shown that there's obviously, well, there wasn't just speculation. He seemed all but set to move to Tottenham last summer until it fell through, eventually signed a new deal. But he's one of these big players that Nottingham Forest, if they are to stay in the Premier League, they're going to need more moments like he produced here this evening in terms of just bringing something out of nothing to try and get points off big teams.
He's a real quality player, and tonight I think he's done a really good job. In a few moments have been able to get it up to Jesus. He's been right in amongst it to play off him, and he's had an opportunity himself. He'll be frustrated earlier on in the first half. He should have done better with.
So just over 20 minutes of normal time remaining here in the first half. This is BBC 5 Sports Extra, BBC Sounds choice of listening on this busy Wednesday evening in the Premier League, and Manchester City are looking for a third here. It's on the left-hand side. Ait-Nouri, who just switches off the gas there, just breaks into a walk as opposed to a jog, just trying to reserve energy, looking for Haaland in behind his Cherky. Haaland gets there, he's caught by Sells. What's the referee going to say here? He says he's taking his time here, Darren England. A wave of the head. He's not pointed to the spot yet, so the only assumption is that he's potentially deeming this as simulation, is it? Well, he's still yet to make a decision here, Darren England. He's surely getting communication from VAR. Everyone's walking away from the ball. It looks as though it's going to be a goal kick. He's waving players away. Still no decision has been made. He's not even pointed to suggest that there's a goal kick here. We're just looking at the replays, Rachel. Do you want to talk us through it?
Oh, it's a wonderful ball, and it's one of those ones you just in behind the back line. Haaland's making that diagonal run, straight ball, and Sells comes out, and as it's happening, Haaland gets there first, knocks it by him. Sells comes in into Haaland.
Eventually, a good 60 seconds plus afterwards, Darren England signified that it's a goal kick. Well, it's one of those where Haaland's not going to keep the ball in play. He gets the first touch, he's going away from goal. He goes into the goalkeeper, but it's one of those, Rachel. I've seen them given, but not tonight.
No, I'm kind of glad it wasn't given, because I think Haaland was anticipating the contact. There was a coming together, but it probably wasn't. It wasn't enough for a penalty, but we have seen them given, certainly, that's for sure.
No penalty here, but a red card at St James's Park. Newcastle United 0, Manchester United 0. Jacob Ramsey has been sent off for a second yellow card in first half stoppage time. And just as I give you that news, Chelsea have a fourth, a João Pedro hat-trick away at Aston Villa. Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 4. If the title race is not enough to keep you on tender hooks, the race for Champions League football, Liverpool dropping points last night against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Everybody's scrapping, Rachel, and it just leads for great entertainment.
That's brilliant. I think that's what you want, as much drama and storylines as you can find, and there's certainly plenty again this season.
And just to keep Nottingham Forest fans up to date, it is still Fulham 0, West Ham 0. They kicked off at 7:30, so similar to ourselves, just over quarter of an hour of normal time remaining. I interrupt that because I've been updated by my excellent co-commentator that Crescencio Somerville has now put West Ham United in front. Fulham 0, West Ham 1. Further bad news if you support Nottingham Forest, because your side are currently in the bottom 3. Trying to change that over the far left-hand side is Callum Hudson-Odoi. Sees his initial cross blocked. Back to Nico Williams, who sends in a deep one, too deep, and that's going to go out for a goal kick. So it's bad news wherever you look for Nottingham Forest right now, and it's also the sight of Jeremy Doku being readied on the touchline. Himself and Kusanov are going to be part of a double Manchester City change. Fresh legs are needed. It's a very busy period for whoever you play for in the Premier League, but in particular at Manchester City. Still, obviously, in the FA Cup. They've got that League Cup final against Arsenal. They've got Champions League home and away legs against Real Madrid, but they still need to dispatch Nottingham Forest here, and it is just that one goal in it. So I'll look to update you the full picture on all those scores momentarily, but Manchester City are playing keep ball here between Cherki and Aït-Nouri. Rodri has it. Silva out to the far side is Nunez. I don't think I've seen Nunez do too much defensively. Not that he's done anything wrong, but every time he's on the ball, it's in an offensive position.
It's a bit of a glamour role, that. You're told to play right back, but really it's right wing. It's when you know you play for a good team.
Well, he's a very interesting signing, because obviously he left Wolves, struggled for 2 seasons to even get anywhere near the matchday squad at times. But Pep has said, you can play in my team at right back, and he's taken on that challenge. And I'm sure you know, Rachel, some footballers who kick up a stink and don't want to do that, but I guess when the sell is, well, we're one of the best teams in the world. If you want to play for us, play right back. And he's done it really well, I think, to be fair, over the course of the season so far.
He has done it really well, and it works because in a lot of games City have so much of the ball, so it allows him to still get that forward thinking part that he enjoys.
A run by Cherki is cut short. Nottingham Forest are countering here. Callum Hudson-Odoi on the left-hand side. Those double changes for Manchester City are still waiting because the ball has not gone dead. It's with Sangare now, who's in the centre circle. Digs it out from underneath his body to find Gibbs White. Immaculate first touch from Nottingham Forest number 10. He scored the goal that levelled things up. Aït-Nouri gets in to block Einer's cross. It falls to Milenkovic. Doku and Kusanov are having to do a bit of limbering to try and keep warm and not go cold. They've had a bit of a wait there on the touchline. It is with Nottingham Forest moving towards the south stand. We can see the orange high-vis of the stewards here at the Etihad Stadium, who are taking a bit more notable presence in the away ends. And Elliot Anderson, centre on from Reach! Finds the bottom corner for the second time! Nottingham Forest are level, and it's Elliot Anderson with a delicious strike, 25-30 yards out, side-footed, bounces in front of Donnarumma. He can't get anywhere near it. It's in the back of the net. Man City 2, Forest 2.
And this is just pure individual brilliance from Elliot Anderson. He picks the ball up, middle of the Man City half, really. He just gets a touch out his foot, right-footed strike. He sort of uses the instep, but with enough pace from the lace, he sort of cuts across it. He gets a power on it. And as you say, it bounces in front of Donnarumma and it flies into that bottom corner. Really good play from Forest. Switch the ball from right inside to the left-hand side, and it just opens up for Anderson. He plays it off Hudson-Odoi to then create that space. Man City will be frustrated. Little give and go is far too easy. Brilliant whip and bend into that far corner.
Well, as we know, Gigi Donnarumma is approaching 7 foot in that goal. It's got to be some strike to beat him. Of course, it's down low, which is where he would potentially struggle, but take nothing away from it. 2 really super goals from Nottingham Forest here this evening, and they are deservedly level. Man City 2, Nottingham Forest 2, and it's Newcastle United, 10-man Newcastle United 1, Manchester United 0. Anthony Gordon from the penalty spot. They're still in the first half. Rodri, he got Manchester City's second. He's on the ball, shifting it to his right-hand side to Kusanov. Kusanov, poor first touch for the substitute. Diaz slides in. Silva comes in field to Rodri. Cherky. Haaland makes the run, looking for Haaland, who had stayed on side, but Cherky's pass is overhit and it goes out for a goal kick. How much credit do we need to give Nottingham Forest here, Rachel? Because they are clearly not rolling over. We talked about it. It's going from bad to worse. They're behind again. West Ham are winning. What a response.
Oh, incredible. And it's been a difficult place for them to come here in the past. They've not scored a lot of goals when they've come to the Etihad. And to go behind twice and to find a way back into the game, it comes back to that character. And we're seeing that from a lot of those sides down the bottom at the moment. Little glimmers every game. Just that little bit of character, that togetherness, stay in the game, get an opportunity. And tonight, Forest have done very well, which makes you think, if they do more of what they've done tonight, I think they'll be okay.
Well, amidst all that excitement at Elliot Anderson's goal, they did not confirm the double change from Manchester City. Foden and Nunez were the two men to make way, and on came Kushanov and Doku. And Nottingham Forest are refreshing their lone striker role. Igor Jesus got the assist for Gibbs White's equaliser at 1-1. He's going to be replaced as Taiwo Awani comes on for Nottingham Forest. The number 9 Nigerian sprints straight into that central position. Gets a slap of the palm from Morgan Gibbs White, because I think there's a definite sense from Nottingham Forest here that they can maybe get all 3 points, Rachel.
What's an attack and change? And sometimes I think that really helps the momentum of the team, that the players that are on the pitch, you don't want to make it feel like you're going defensive and you're trying to hang on. Against a team like City, that just encourages them on top of you. Make an attack and change, believe in yourself, but also bringing on fresh legs. Igor Jesus, top performance tonight.
Hudson-Odoi. Anderson will keep that in. His cross towards Awani, too far. Doku in a foot race with Eine, which the Belgian wins, but he's been penned in. Gibbs White comes in straight into the back. That's reckless, needless as well. I think he just wanted to stop him from gaining any further territory, to be honest with you. He'll take that in the left back position. Manchester City free kick.
Yeah, I think that's what he's just said to Eine. Just take him out. Just stop the game. Stop the attack.
Can't get away with too many of those. Nico Williams has picked the pocket of Antoine Semenyo. He's bearing down left-hand side, looking for Awani. Checks back into Anderson. Anderson gets away from Rodri. Elliot Anderson with the strike! This time lacking the accuracy of his finish, because it's not gone out for a goal kick, it's gone out for a throw. And Manchester City now are looking a little desperate, chasing the game.
Well, I know there's a little bit of pressure, because these are the games that have to be 3 points at this stage. They want it to come down to that game where they'll face off against Arsenal. You don't want to lose or drop points to a team that's sitting 17th, 18th in the Premier League.
81st minute. Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 2. And it's half-time at St James's Park, which has seen a red card for Newcastle. An Anthony Gordon penalty in first half stoppage time. That was cancelled out by an equaliser from Casemiro. So a reminder, once we're done here, that will be the commentary that will direct you towards on BBC Radio 5 Live. Rodri, Doku, 22 yards out onto his left foot, pulls it back. Good power, no accuracy, straight into the north stand. And another change coming from Pep Guardiola. And it's Savinho who comes on to replace Ryan Cherky. At what point, if you are Nottingham Forest, do you say a point is enough here, Rachel? We're in the 82nd minute.
Well, I think that goes back to the point of making a forward-thinking change or not. You just want to remain competitive, and I think you start holding on, it can be difficult. There's game management, and then there's holding on though, and I think probably getting the ball in play so sharply might be something we see just slow down a touch, and little tricks like that to try and just wear the clock down, because how many times have we seen teams think they're going to take a point here and City come up with a goal before the end?
Talk about taking their time. It is a Nottingham Forest throw, right in front of Vitor Pereira. Yet to win in the Premier League this season. Of course, that includes his spells in charge of Wolverhampton Wanderers and Nottingham Forest, but this could be a huge point. Which the irony of is, it could be a huge point, but they're still going to be in the bottom three. But in terms of the message that it sends, Rachel, that you can come away to Manchester City and play and be competitive.
And it's going to be huge for momentum in terms of how they go into the next few games, because they do have these difficult games. They've got the European games as well in the mix. You know, they've got Fulham at home next. Going into that in the right mind is huge.
Header across goal towards Haaland. It's going to come back to Nunez, who's now in this left wing position. Moved out of right back. Kushanov's going to take that roll up. He sends in the cross and Sells takes charge. It looked as though Murillo was about to head it clear, but the Belgian plucks it out of the air and then dives on it and then rolls it underarm to Murillo. Into Callum Hudson-Odoi. Anderson fired that. Kushanov took full impact. Doku has it for Manchester City. Keeping tight control, has his ankle caught by Anderson. And that will be a Manchester City free kick midway into the Nottingham Forest half. Not yet time running out, but a real urgency, but not quite yet desperation from Pep Guardiola's side.
No, but the fans are building in tension, you can feel it.
Silva. Rodri. Over the right-hand side is Savinho. Wasn't the best ball out to him, but good improvisation to try and get away from Williams. He can't, though. Williams does really well. Murillo's clearance. Awani, if he can get anywhere near it, just needs to try and hold it up. He can't. Guehi. Every outfielder for Manchester City is in the Nottingham Forest half. Savinho has it once again. His fresh legs looking to bear down on Nico Williams. Deflected cross. It will be a Manchester City corner. And the last one they took, they scored from.
Bit more pressure from City. This will be tough for Forest to try and just calm the storm.
So at the moment, only goal difference keeping Nottingham Forest out of the bottom three, and they are defending a Bernardo Silva left-footed corner which hangs in the air. It looked to be met by Guehi, and it was the England man with the final touch, and it goes behind for a goal kick, and Bernardo Silva trying to retrieve possession, but there'll be a stoppage here because Matt Sells has stayed down, chest down inside his own goal, over the goal line. He's now rolled over. It appears to be in quite a bit of discomfort.
And it's very similar to the last corner. It's actually, Haaland is standing on him, but Nico Williams is marking him and is between Haaland and the goalkeeper. And I think Sells initiates the contact. He's not comfortable with the two of them right in on top of them. And he actually sort of runs into Nico Williams to try and force him and Haaland away from him. And he sort of falls over. It's kind of lucky that there wasn't a cleaner contact on the header, because he's lying on the ground and I really don't think there is a foul there.
4 minutes plus stoppage remaining. Arsenal potential huge winners here in what could be a pivotal evening in the Premier League. All the reaction will be on the 5 Live Football Daily, which is available on BBC Sounds and wherever you get your podcasts first thing Thursday morning. Well, they'll be dissecting what has been a fascinating contest here at the Etihad, and is there still time for one further twist? Manchester City have possession. Rodri gallops forward on this left-hand side into Doku. Doku's yet to get into the game. Substitute brought on in the second half, has been out with a calf injury. His first appearance in the Premier League in 5 fixtures. Over the opposite side now is Savinho. He seems to like his chances up against Nico Williams. Savinho twisting and turning onto his left foot. Diaz's cross in towards Haaland. Haaland looks to cushion the header. Semenyo can't bring it down. Sangare looks to hug it clear. He can't, because Manchester City have it. Guehi, Diaz. The back line of Manchester City is approaching the final third of Nottingham Forest territory. Savinho, so many in red, camped in the box. Sky Blue trying to get through. Savinho's ball across the 18-yard line. Semenyo into Rodri. Rodri happy to go back out towards the right-hand side. Savinho, good first touch. Thought about the shot maybe. Rodri has it. Passing around the penalty area here. Doku. Who's going to find that killer touch here for Manchester City? Will there be a crucial block from Nottingham Forest? Kushanovs. He takes the touch. It's on the right-hand side. Bernardo Silva Bernardo Silva looks to pile it back to Rodri. Didn't wrap his foot around it to Haaland, who goes down, appeals for a penalty. Cunha was definitely had some form of a contact with the Norwegian. VAR will have a look, but the referee's on-field decision is nothing in it.
Well, he certainly has a hold on him. I think Haaland's touch is a little loose, which is maybe the only saving grace for Cunha because he's wrong side of him. Rodri's shot goes into the ground, lands at Haaland. He tries to take it under his control and it sort of comes off his foot and goes towards Matt Sells.
Second penalty peel of the game for Erling Haaland. Nothing doing. Ball in from Savinho is well defended, helped on by Awani, but no one is in advance of Nottingham Forest number 9. So that means Manchester City have it. We're in the 89th minute here. Looped in towards Savinho. I think he actually ducked out of the header there, and it goes behind for a goal kick.
I think Nico Williams does actually head it, and it just comes off the back of Savinho immediately after it.
Well, Nottingham Forest are going to make 2 further changes here. I anticipate there will be a decent chunk of stoppage time. I'm thinking at least 4 or 5 minutes, if not more. Morato and Yates are the 2 men being readied. And Morgan Gibbs-White, who looks over his left shoulder, the double clap towards the away end. He passes over the captain's armband to Ryan Yates, who comes on to make what is his 13th substitute appearance off the bench, and it's Nico Williams who had that final touch onto Savinho, which saw Nottingham Forest awarded a goal kick. So pretty similar to Manchester City, both fresher legs in both offensive and defensive positions. How much time left here at the Etihad, we'll shortly find out. Probably 20 seconds or so away from confirmation. I can see fourth official Thomas Bramall is readying the boards, just adjusting the digits. Malenkovic up and under, midway into his own half. Yates' first header. Anderson again with an up and under. Is that going to go out of play? No, Rodri keeps it in play. Yates has it. Yates looking for Awani. Awani will get there ahead of Ruben Diaz. Wide right, heading towards the corner flag. Good strength from Forest number 9. Can he get a corner? He can.
Great play. Brilliant attacking play. Just work the ball down the right, make it difficult. A few up and unders, uncomfortable for City. Get Awani in the channel. Does really well against Diaz. Takes a yard of room to then play it off of him.
Well, Nottingham Forest supporters were celebrating that corner. I don't think they were celebrating confirmation that there's a minimum of 7 minutes of stoppage time. Attacking the goal which their fans are behind, which they've seen the net ripple twice. Elliot Anderson on this near side in front of the Colin Bell stand. Out swinger towards Yates at the near post. What a chance, and he doesn't hit the target.
I tell you what, it's a clean header. He just gets the angle wrong on it.
I think it might be the substitute's third touch of the football, and he's unfortunately unable to work Donnarumma. Manchester City have it. Time is running out though. We've already played 75 seconds of the minimum 7. Gahey. It's about keeping your cool here, whether you're Manchester City or Nottingham Forest, and believing that you can either create something or withstand whatever the other team has to offer. Sent cross in, not cleared by Malenkovic. He's trying to make amends, and Morato's first touch is to put it behind for a Manchester City corner. Bit of panic there, caused unnecessarily by Malenkovic there. 2-2, added time, Etihad, 5 Sports Extra, BBC Sounds. We're watching on as Bernardo Silva negotiates the slight ramp to swing in his corner, which is met by Elliot Anderson. Doku has time to watch it. Cushions back in the cross. Aina out jumps Haaland. Savinho has it. Savinho still going. Looks to swear it. Deflected. Oh, and Rodri flashes wide. He's appealing for a penalty, is he? He feels as though there was late contact. The referee says goal kick. I'm sure VAR will be having a look at it because Rodri's has the final touch. His shot's wayward, but he feels as though he's caught by a Nottingham Forest defender. Rachel Corsie.
And not very often in these instances, if it's sort of follow through brings you into the defender, you don't get these. The referee's given very little. He's allowed a lot to play on, which I think a lot of people have enjoyed for the most part in this game. It's just last ditch defending, and as the ball just spins out, I think it's Anderson, it's Ellie Anderson that's just reaching to block it. That sort of instep of both boots come together as Rodri gets his shot away. Definitely not a penalty for me.
And that's clearly the word from the VAR in Stockley Park. Tony Harrington, he's been communicating with referee Darren England, and a wave of the finger to say no penalty, Nottingham Forest goal kick. We are approaching full time in the 4 games that kicked off at 7:30. 2-2 here. Arsenal still 1-0 up against Brighton. West Ham still 1-0 up at Fulham. And it's all square at half-time at St James's Park between Newcastle United and Manchester United. Matt Sells shown a yellow card for taking too long with the goal kick. Feels aggrieved, but given the circumstances, I think he'll happily take one for the team there if it can just do enough to offset this Manchester City. Anyway, going to lose ground here in the title race. Arsenal are going to be stretching their advantage. West Ham are cutting the deficit at the bottom, but Nottingham Forest are staying out of the bottom 3 as it stands. Savinho right hand side of the penalty area, cut back. Is it going to go all the way through to Doku? It's not. Haaland went down off the ball, contact with Aina. The action continues. Haaland's in an offside position here. That's why Diaz has not crossed it. Bernardo Silva takes over. Bernardo Silva to Rodri, 25 yards out, looking to protect the ball. Free kick because Yates is too overzealous in trying to win it back. Brings down his man. Manchester City free kick, centre on, 25-30 yards out.
Rodri just using his body well, not much in it, but knows if he just protects the ball, allows contact, didn't really have a pass. This is a good area.
Goal update from Scotland. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2. That's in the second half. Reminder, all the live scores on the BBC Sport website and app. We're watching on as Kushinov and Bernardo Silva over the dead ball. Kushinov walks away, and it looks as though Bernardo Silva is readying up an Antoine Semenyo thunderbolt from range here. He got the first goal this evening, way back in the 31st minute. Gibbs White equalised. Rodri headed home to put Manchester City back in front. Elliot Anderson then made it 2-2. What can Antoine Semenyo do from distance here? He's got it up and down, and I'm not sure who got the final touch there. The referee says no one from Nottingham Forest goal kick, much to the bemusement of the on-field players for Manchester City. That was close.
It was a brilliant effort. Probably Matt Sells does have it covered, and I don't think he does get a touch, you know. Or maybe he does. I think it was going over anyway. That's just the height of Matt Sells. He can more than clear the crossbar. Probably about a yard or so inside from being right in the corner.
Is that to be the last of significant action here? The goal kick, but Manchester City have it back. I think we will go on beyond the minimum 7 minutes. We're into that 7th minute of additional time here, and it's on the right-hand side in possession of those in sky blue. Bernardo Silva wants to get there before Awani. Guehi on this left-hand side, looking for support from Doku. Sends in a low cross, it's a poor one. Morata will easily clear that. Awani's a willing runner, trying to get between the middle of the Portuguese sandwich that is Silva and Diaz, and it's now with Donnarumma. One last Hail Mary for Manchester City to try and mount. One last bit of defending surely here for Nottingham Forest, who are on their way to a very impressive point on the road. This is a Manchester City side who've won their last 4 in the Premier League. They haven't dropped points at home since early January. Murillo chests it clear. Anywhere will do for Callum Hudson-Odoi. The Nottingham Forest backroom staff are asking the 4th official how much longer. We've ticked over the minimum 7, so it's at the discretion of Darren England. The cross comes in. Milenkovic's header only as far as Rodri. Rodri on the left-hand side to Nunez now. Can he get away from Aina? Aina sticks to his task, gets a foot in. Manchester City corner. This is surely it, Rachel. Delivery's got to be good. It's taken short. Doku. Nottingham Forest sleeping. Doku's cross. He's not crossed it yet. The crowd are on their feet. They're trying to get him to do something. Sangari wins back possession. He doesn't have the legs to get away, though. He's intercepted. Doku makes amends. Wins back possession. Semenyo, left-hand side. Nunez, first-time cross. Flicks up off Milenkovic. Headed clear by Cunha. Hudson-Odoi has to get there for Nottingham Forest. He can't. Sangari's down off the ball. Forest are down to 10, defending a Manchester City cross. Aina meets it, out to Doku, picks out Bernardo Silva! Air shot, still not cleared, scramble, off the line by Murillo! Unbelievable, and that is it! The last act is Murillo to clear from off his own goal line! Muted silence here at the Etihad, and a bouncing away end because Rachel Corsie. A thriller at the Etihad has finished. Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 2.
That was an incredible end. I mean, how that doesn't end up in the back of the net. Incredible from Murillo. Does so well. Falls to Bernardo Silva. He breaks the line. Brilliant run. Brilliant ball into it from Doku. You think he's just going to lift it into the roof of the net. He can't really get a shot away. Sells saves it. Then you think surely in the follow-up it's going to go in. It's past Sells, but Murillo somehow instinctively just on the goal line side foots it clear. Incredible end. Fantastic point for Nottingham Forest. That could be crucial.
Well, if you did join us late, Antoine Semenyo put Manchester City in front. They held that lead till the break. And then in the 56th minute, an audacious back heel from Morgan Gibbs-White equalised thing. And that really brought the atmosphere to life here at the Etihad. Almost an immediate response. 6 minutes that scoreline remained at 1-1 before Rodri headed home from a corner, and then Elliot Anderson. Trust me, you want to check out Match of the Day for the 2 Nottingham Forest goals. Elliot Anderson with a stunning strike from range in the 76th minute. Nottingham Forest still had chances, but it certainly was Manchester City asking more questions, and at the death there they couldn't quite get over the line. So what it does mean in terms of the Premier League standings, Rachel Corsie, is Arsenal out in front now, 7 points clear from Manchester City. If we look towards the foot of the table, though, how important this point is for Nottingham Forest, because West Ham winners at Fulham, goal difference keeping Vitor Pereira's side out of the bottom 3, and we'll start with them. For a team who potentially, if we're looking at the Spurs argument, who seem to be in a downward trajectory, Vitor Pereira has come in. He's got a response because they can come to a team like Manchester City, withstand that, but also show their own quality.
And that will be huge for the momentum and how they go into these games. I think a lot of coaches will have looked at it. You look at the games in March into the international window, and they have Fulham at home and Spurs away, Forest. And that's 2 games where you'd have to say they will think they can get points out of both. And the momentum going into that is just so important. They've suffered from that, the opposite of that for most of the season, and similarly with West Ham, sort of in that surge. You do feel for Spurs of all the sides. They're the one that don't seem to have just that resilience. We've not seen a performance where they've had that moment where you go, there they all are, together, resilient, fighting against the odds. Tonight, I thought Forest were exceptional. You think about it, Matt Sells, he'd 1 or 2 standard saves and probably 1 brilliant save, and otherwise most things came from distance, balls in the box that I thought the centre-backs defended really well. Top performance, so much that they'll take forward now.
Just watching Pep Guardiola head down the tunnel, one hand in his pocket. I wouldn't far to say he's looking bereft, but his body language suggests a lot as we see the Nottingham Forest players make their way over to that away support, who have held their own this evening. We've heard them throughout. From a Manchester City point of view, it's far from the title over. I think we'll see Arsenal potentially slip up at some point, but given the gap, how telling is this result here this evening in terms of the bigger picture of confidence for Arsenal and them hopefully trying to get over the line and not get caught by Manchester City?
Well, Arsenal will certainly have enjoyed the result. For City, they'll be disappointed, but City seem to, for me, they seem to have a resilience where they don't seem to sway so heavily in the emotion of these moments. You know, not so long ago, that Wolves result for Arsenal, it felt a little bit of a shake-up. And, you know, a lot of questions were asked. I feel when results like this happen to City, we just anticipate, no, they'll come back, there'll be a response, they'll be back on track. So I still think there's so many twists and turns, and I know that Man City will believe that too. They'll think if they can get to that game against Arsenal in the league, they'll relish that. And as I say, I still think there's a lot of twists and turns.